Sir, you're charged with especially aggravated kidnapping. You're also charged with aggravated assault. And you're charged with theft of a firearm worth less than $2,500.
You're talking about stuff that is not relevant.
Hello and welcome to the Court of Public Opinion. I am the Recovery Addict, and boy, do I have a case for you today.
Why is the dog chewing on this guy?
I think they have got the wrong guy there.
They got the wrong guy, and the dog was biting him.
He roughened him up quite a bit. There's a lawsuit.
9 out of 10 judges prefer watching the Recovery Addict live stream in their court.
The fireworks are not done.
Now we're doing commentary on the case. Dati mihi Anglican po, pero lucky.
Scratch all that. Oh, that was terrible. I apologize.
Good morning, good morning. Welcome to the Court of Public Opinion. I am the Recovery Addict. There I am. Apparently I'm not at standing height. Going up, going up, going up. Yeah, there we go. I'm feeling the music this morning. Hope you're having a great morning. Good morning, good morning. Happy Friday! We made it to the weekend, but that doesn't matter because the judge says we have to work this weekend anyway. Let's turn that down just a little bit. Why am I... Check 1 2, check 1 2, test. Like weird sound going on. Oh, I know why. And just like that, I fixed it. Did I finally get some sleep? I did. Last night I got like 7 hours. The night before, I think I got 12. So I'm doing great. I'm doing great. Absolutely great. Welcome especially to Fire Girl, handmade by Wendy. First in chat today. Congratulations because of your eagerness to be here. We're going to punish you, Fire Girl.
Thank you, sir. You're my new best friend.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're my newest friend because you're taking care of the internet all day long. That is so hot. That's so loud. I mean, it's not. The audio was hot. Congratulations. We're punishing you with internet ownership because you were first in chat. Make sure you go over to the YouTube shopping tab and browse around. If you click enough links, eventually you'll be able to find where you can order for the low fee of just 50 cents. You can order your own certificate of internet ownership commemorating this occasion.
Taking it easy.
It's a nice certificate. It's really good. It is fill in the blank.
Happy birthday. You look good.
But it is pre-signed by me and by my boss, Mrs. R.A. So there you go. It is suitable for framing or use as a cover sheet on your CV. The certificate is the only thing that's inflation-proof. Yeah, it's pretty good. All right, we are excited. We're excited for day 5. We're going to have day 6 this week, which is nuts. We've never had 6 days of trial in 1 week before, but we're doing it this week, apparently, because the judge says, with a sequestered jury, I can make them work as much as I want. And that's what he's doing. So they work, we work. That's how it works. But they're not working quite yet this morning, meaning it won't be till 10 that they start. So we have this time to fill. And there's a couple things we could do. First of all, we can look for birthdays, which I know we've got at least 2. I know we've got at least 2 birthdays. We can sing to them, which we will do. We can look at maybe something in the world of true crime that might have been very interesting and fun that happened yesterday, and we'll do that as well. And we can look at our notes, going back for what happened yesterday in trial, because I didn't do a summation sort of at the end. We can do that. So we will do those 3 things in that order. Let's see. Hang on. I'll get to the membership messages in just 1 second, but let's do the birthday stuff first. And the way we do that, as we do every day, goes like this. Everybody stand up. I'm standing. You stand if you can. Take a deep breath. Get ready to project your voice to the back of the room. Blend your voice with your neighbors. Warm up with me if you will. La 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 la. Excellent. We're going to sing happy birthday to Genuine Heidi, Francis Fitzgerald, Jacob, Luna, and Mitch. Happy birthday to you, everybody! Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to Heidi, Francis Fitzgerald, Jacob, Luna, and Mitch. Happy birthday to you. I'm feeling it today. I haven't had a Friday that started this good in a long time. I mean, they're always good, but this one's even better. Genuine Heidi, Francis Fitzgerald, Jacob, Luna, and Mitch. Happy birthday. I realize there are a million people you could have been with, and there are a million people you could have celebrated with, but you've chosen to be here with us. The privilege and pleasure is all ours. Thank you very much, and hopefully we can return some of this back to you and make your day just a little more special. Help yourself to free pancakes at Denny's, IHOP, Village Inn, Waffle House, Tammy Dunlap's house, Andy's Grill. Free coffee at Starbucks, free donuts at Krispy Kreme, maybe. Don't sue me. Get your freebies. There are freebies available to you all over, just based on the fact that you were born today some number of years ago. And it's worth celebrating. We're celebrating it now. Let other people celebrate as well, wherever you go. It's a great time to just go out and about and just pop in and say, hey, it's my birthday. and see what they do for you. You'd be surprised. Restaurants will sing to you. You get some freebies. You may even get a discount. So it may even get you out of a speeding ticket. I mean, it's the one day. If you do happen to be pulled over today, and you are going maybe a little bit over, and you're nice, and you're like, officer, I'm sorry you had to pull me over. I shouldn't have been going that fast. It is my birthday. And you show them the driver's license, because then they know, right? They're like, you're right, it is. And that officer would be like, I'd be a jerk to give you a birthday. Hang on one second, drum solo. I'd be a jerk to give you a ticket on your birthday. This is how I envision it going. So, not legal advice, but you might consider it. You might consider it anyway, as for what it's worth. Ricky Watson, 22 months. I love that picture. But you know who else is in that picture? That is the one and only Matthew Harris as well. Love that picture. The Cowboy's still here. That's awesome. Matthew Harris, who just became board certified. That is awesome. Let's see. There's thumbnails from Red Pen, which are amazing. I need to look at. There's a lot of things. Is your next purchase going to be a desk treadmill? Maybe. Yeah. I would like one. Because I need to get out and move more. I need to put the miles in. There was a time when I ran cross country, and 8 miles in a warm up was those words went together. This is not that time, but I would like to get back closer to that. So, all right, let's go to court. Let's go to court, shall we? One of our favorites. Now, I'll just warn you. Judge Oakley says exactly what he's thinking, even if it has a Bible word in it. So we're going to jump down to Judge Oakley's courtroom. Thank you, Josh, for giving us the heads up on this one. As always, Josh finds all the good stuff. Please add thumbnail link in your description. View only. Okay, let me see where the thumbnail link is. Did Red Pen send it to me? Red Pen, can you send me the thumbnail link? You sent it to Amber, right? Oh, here's Red Pen. Lobster bisque. Bisque. Red Pen, send me the link so I don't give away the mind that can access it. Does that work? Just text it to me on the burner.
Are we going to address subject matter jurisdiction?
Red Pen says yes. All right, we're gonna address all of that here in just one hot minute. If you'll hold your horses, people. Here we go.
I think I'm about to catch a whooping.
You're about to catch a whooping. Someone is. It might be the Amazon guy. Just wait and see. All right, here we go.
What do we got? A formal hearing?
My hearing, sir.
Do you have any paperwork on that I could have? On the formal hearing? Okay. All right. And what's the name so I can call the file?
Somebody just sent me a video of roaches fighting.
Robert?
Who won?
The first name is Erogrik, Robert. Last of Scott.
Scott? All right. And Mr. Scott, are you ready for your formal hearing today?
Yeah.
All right. And the people? All right, your appearance for Van Buren Township.
All
All right, let's get started.
Let's do it.
right.
Officer, come on up. Watch your step on my incline ramp.
Because that would be embarrassing if you tripped, and you might get hurt.
Raise your right hand for me. Swear affirm, tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth.
I do.
Settle in. When you're ready, Miss Manarino.
Make yourself comfy.
Officer, can you state your name for the record, please?
Officer Ryan Berry, Van Buren Township Police.
And you're employed as a police officer there?
Correct.
How long have you been so employed?
I'm going on 17 years.
Are you currently assigned to any particular unit within the police department?
Patrol division.
Prior to being in patrol, were you assigned to any particular unit within the police department?
Several. K-9 unit, traffic unit, accident investigation.
How much experience do you have in the traffic unit?
I spent approximately 6 years in the traffic.
And you mentioned accident investigation.
Yes.
How long is that something that you have experience with?
On and off about 12 out of the 16, 17 years of my career.
Were you on duty the afternoon of December 10th of 2024?
Yes.
At approximately 2:00 p.m., were you dispatched on a call?
Yes.
What was the nature of the call?
2 vehicle collision.
Ooh, a crash.
Do you recall the location?
Yeah, on Sumter Road, north of Venus.
That's within Van Buren Township?
Correct.
Did you respond to that call?
Yes, I did.
When you arrived, did you make any observations?
Yes.
What did you see?
There was a 2025 Toyota sedan that had rear-ended an Amazon truck.
Oh!
And this occurred where?
Late deliveries.
The collision occurred on the northbound lane, more so along the white line and shoulder area of the roadway.
Did you do any sort of investigation to ascertain how the accident occurred?
Yes, I did.
What did you do?
I made contact with the driver of the Toyota, who indicated that he attempted to go around the Amazon truck. He noticed it stopped partially in the shoulder and partially across the white line lane, northbound travel lane. That driver indicated that as he attempted to go around the vehicle, his lane keeping assistance pulled him back into the northbound lane, causing the collision.
And did you have contact with the driver of the Amazon vehicle?
I did.
Do you see the driver of the Amazon vehicle prior to the report?
This is Steve back here in the back door.
And did you have contact with the driver of the Amazon vehicle?
Yes, I did.
Did he tell you anything about what had happened that afternoon?
I just got basic information from him, but he said he just got rear-ended by the sedan.
Did you make any observations when you arrived at the scene of the accident as to the vehicles themselves?
I did. The Amazon vehicle was still partially on the shoulder with a little bit of the vehicle, the driver's side of the vehicle being in the roadway.
Can you describe what the roadway at that stretch of Sumter Road is like? How many lanes of traffic
There's
there
2
are?
lanes, one north, one south, no turn lane, really no shoulder. On the outside of the white line to the top of the ditch line is 5.5 feet. If you were to try to park inside that white line, your vehicle would be in the ditch, essentially. I tried to do it with my patrol vehicle. I could not do it safely and be off the roadway.
What kind of patrol vehicle do you have?
Ford Explorer.
Smaller or larger than the Amazon delivery truck?
Smaller.
More narrow?
Correct.
So based on your investigation of the scene on December 10th that afternoon, did you make draw any conclusions about how the accident?
Yeah, I believe the driver of the Amazon vehicle was partially on across the white line in the northbound travel lane and the approximate cause of the collision.
And that's based on your measurements of the roadway and the size of the Amazon vehicle, that it wasn't possible for the Amazon vehicle to be on the shoulder and be completely out of the roadway.
If the Amazon vehicle was on the shoulder, it would have been in the ditch. It would have, if it was on the outside of the white line, it would have been leaned over in the ditch.
Can't be in the ditch.
And you didn't observe the vehicle, the Amazon delivery vehicle, to be in that condition?
No.
So I didn't know anything other than the officer.
Mr. Scott, do you have any questions for this officer?
Did you see all 4 of my tires outside of the white line?
No, I did not.
my thought that was all 4 tires were, like he said, it was a ditch. Anything more other, I was roll over the ditch, but I don't have anything.
What?
We'd have to go to the form. I don't know if that was a question or a statement from.
I think it was a question and then a statement. So no questions at this time.
I have another question. You said that the driver said his driver assist shifted it over to cause the accident essentially?
Correct. But you were still the proximate cause of the accident, being across the line, obstructing the traffic.
If you said that was one of our rules for me to be over to the side, what am I supposed to do?
You can't park in the road. You can't stop them.
I wasn't parked technically, I was driving, I was trying to make a turn.
Okay. This is Q&A. I'm going to give you plenty of time to argue, but this is Q&A. So do you have any, did he answer that question?
Yes.
Do you have any other questions? Okay. Any rebuttal?
No.
You stepped out. Any other witnesses from the people?
None, Your Honor.
All right. Do you have any witnesses?
I don't.
Okay. Would you like me to hear your story?
Yeah.
Raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? All right, go ahead.
So they said approximately on 2 o'clock, I was doing the delivery. It was pretty busy traffic, so I parked over the shoulder as far as I could. Like we stated earlier, there's really no more room for me to be over without being rolled over the ditch. As I was leaving traffic to time, I was waiting to make a turn, essentially, like, let's say the house is right here. I'm a little bit up here, so I was waiting to like go in and back in, but it'd be easier. The public traffic was pretty good. But flow of traffic was still kind of moving. Like people could still go this way or this way. Maybe about 10 cars. Then God may have been like 13th car every time, like he said, over and then kind of veered over at the last second. So that's pretty much what
Do you have any questions for Mr. Scott?
No, Your Honor, I don't.
Any rebuttal witnesses?
No, Your Honor.
I'm ready for argument.
Your Honor, the testimony from Mr. Scott and from Officer Barrett is consistent that there was a room essentially on what would be the shoulder of the road for the vehicle to be stopped. And because of that, the vehicle was in the roadway at a time when there was traffic in both lanes. And because of that, there was a collision. It's clear that Mr. Scott was impeding traffic when we actually found it.
What's the charge? I don't even know that.
Sorry, it's impeding traffic from the accident.
Okay. Thank you.
All right.
Argument.
I don't feel like I was responsible because the driver just tipped them over and like 15 cars successfully passed me while I was waiting to make the turn. So I just know what else am I supposed to do in this scenario?
Pull in the driveway.
Well, I couldn't. It was so busy and I was trying to back into the driveway.
You know what? I live on a private road and I've gotten letters from delivery services that say they won't deliver to my house because my trees are too low. So if there's no safe way to deliver that package, then your company should communicate with that consumer that says we can't deliver to you.
I was simply waiting to get in the driveway. I was trying to back.
But you were impeding traffic while you were waiting to do that. And brother, your tough luck. That is one of my major pet peeves is delivery trucks that park in the travel lane.
You got the wrong
and everybody
judge.
else has got to accommodate them because they're trying to deliver packages.
All 4 tires are open.
Get another job if you can't live with that. It's when I'm driving down the road, it's not my problem if the delivery truck in front of me doesn't know how to back in a driveway or pull in a driveway or doesn't have some other way to get their package in there. That's not on me. Traffic. You're really going to interrupt the judge that's getting ready to give you fines and costs?
I was trying to back the judge over.
Okay. And while you were trying to back in the driveway, you were impeding traffic because people had to go around you because you were blocking the travel lane. That's impeding. That's the classic definition of impeding traffic.
Still passing normal.
But they had to pass. They had to go into the other travel lane to get what direction were you headed?
I'm not sure. Maybe ignore it. I don't know. Correct.
All right. And the people that were going the same direction you were going, they had to get into the oncoming traffic lane to get past you, didn't they? Not all of them. Some of them. You're impeding traffic. Classic definition of impeding traffic. And once again, Amazon's obviously got a great business model, but I don't think every other driver on the road should have to put up with the bullshit.
There it is.
I'm actually excited to finally get an impeding traffic ticket issued on an Amazon driver.
I've been waiting for this
because
one.
I've been putting up that stuff for years, and I don't see where it ever happens.
I just don't see what I'm supposed to do in this scenario.
It doesn't matter. I got a perfect example for you. I had a young man on Zoom today. He stole food because he had to feed his 2 kids and he had no other options. Does that make the stealing of the food less illegal? It's exactly the same scenario. All right, you know what? You continue to argue. So the suspended fines and costs just became $250. Pay it today. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Thank you.
I got to have something to write on, though.
Give me my copy down for that.
Don't let that man leave this building without paying my cashier.
Lock him up.
We didn't have a final joke?
Nothing.
You need an helper. Yeah.
I don't think this judge will be.
All right, I have got Nagy. Is that you? Come on up, counsel. Your appearance.
All right, that's as far as we're going with that one. Thank you, Josh, for that start to the day. I saw. Did we miss a birthday? Obviously, you might have come in a little bit late. Who was it? Who was it? I'm looking. Whose birthday is it? Are we standing today? I'm standing right now. I'm not gonna agree to the whole day. I mean, my chair is like right here, so maybe I'll just lean on the chair, and then I'm sort of half standing, half sitting. Judge has a standing desk too. Christine, is it Christine Fortunato? Where are you at? I think I remember that's your name. Christine, did we miss your birthday? I can't see her. Don't let that man go without paying my cashier. There's a good soundbite, huh? It's an emotional support chair. Christine, if we missed it, I'm very, very sorry. I'm sorry you were a little bit late, maybe. Sometimes we forget. Happy birthday, Christine Fortunato.
Happy birthday.
Christine Fortunato. There you go. Happy birthday. I can't redo the whole song, though. Consider yourself sung to, though. All the same applies. Free pancakes at Denny's, Waffle House, everything else. It's all for you as well. Sarah Gould, I haven't been here for a few days. Scott, did you catch the strips the judge tore out of both sides? And no, I did not. We didn't follow that one because it's got some political undertones to it. Nick's the only one I've ever seen cover that one. Yeah, I know that was a very spicy trial.
Thank you, sir. You're my new best friend.
If it's still going, I don't know. I think it's about to reach a verdict if it hasn't already. But we do the Pickles, not politics. We had to pass on that one. So yeah, there's some good ones out there that just don't fit our channel very well, and for that reason we're skipping them. Let's see. Happy birthday. You're seeing the happy birthday wishes here. Good morning, Jess. Welcome. Good to have you here. Happy Friday to you. It's not going to feel like Friday because I don't know what plans you had for the weekend. Cancel them. We're working tomorrow.
Are we going to adjust subject matter?
We'll be here. So, judge's orders. Judge says it's happening, and we're going to be here to see it. So,
have them send someone with more experience.
More experience. Always somebody with more experience. Okay. Give me 1 second here. Samantha Terry, this is the link. This is the link I need.
This is not Burger King. People do not get to have it
copy
their way.
this link.
Somebody just sent me a video of roaches fighting. I don't know who won.
I don't know who won.
Thank you, sir. You're my new best friend.
So, okay, we've got Red Pen's link for the thumbnail in the description of this video now, so that will help.
Alex stole it.
If you need it, if you want it, that is right there. I can't click it on this particular screen. No lunch for a little while. We might have a late lunch because we're starting late. We're starting at 10 o'clock.
I saw a chicken fight.
Amber, I get like 50 messages an hour from the burner phone, from not counting mod chat.
I'm not a cat.
It's nuts. I miss some. Okay, I miss some.
May be upon us.
Let's see. Me today. Edit, design, and post. Sounds awesome, Kayla. You're gonna do a great job. Perfect design. Customer's gonna love it, or you're gonna love it if you're the customer. All right. I like this armchair thing. The people who invented armchairs, they were onto something. This is quite comfy. Oh, technology. I love technology. I had oatmeal for breakfast. I'm crediting the oatmeal to my joy. They say the oatmeal helps cure depression. There was a time where I would finish that up with, I look at this stuff and I've learned my lesson. But it's yummy. It's yummy. Oatmeal, little brown sugar on the top, little dusting. Well, by dusting, I mean like 2 to 3 inches, like a good snowstorm. I like brown sugar. And it's really good, which means I'm probably going to have a sugar crash here soon. Did not have Mountain Dew. It has been, well, I don't know how long it's been, but I can tell you the last Mountain Dew I had, I think you guys saw me drink. So how long has that been? That's been a while. Let's see. Do you think they'll be letting the public in like normal tomorrow if to go? Yes, we've actually got, Kristen's going to be there today. Kristen's going to be there today, and I'm sure they're going to let the public in. If they're holding court, it's open. It's open. Unless the judge rules that they have a court, the court's going to be closed to the public, and that would be probably the whole case, or at least just certain witnesses. So, for sure. So we're going to have a court watcher in there. We'll probably get some, she says she's going to give us some information about the jury, the makeup of the jury, and maybe a little bit that we cannot see from our vantage point, which we're really excited about. It's always fun to have a court watcher. And Kristen, thank you very much for that. Okay, as far as court goes, we're here, but they're not. So let's take a minute. The judge is actually working. That's why they've panned up a little bit. He is there. He is talking. He's doing arraignments or whatever it is he has to do. You're welcome. Your mood is infectious. If only I didn't despise oatmeal, I would try to replicate your mood booster. I think sufficient sleep and breakfast are really good to get the day started. I eat Kiona. Is it Kiona? And barley with cinnamon and maple syrup, sometimes chopped almonds and walnuts. Yum, not mushy like oatmeal. Well, the secret to making oatmeal not mushy is don't cook it right. But then it's worse that way. But I like mine mushy. Is this the recap of the Chen trial now? Yes, Red Pen, it is. That's where I was headed, which is over this direction. So give me just 1 minute to pull that up. It was on this screen. Yesterday was tough. I'll be the first to admit it. It was tough for me. I've got more notes from yesterday than I have from the rest of the trial put together. So to give you an idea, day one, we had Katrina Bean, who was Jasmine's mom. We had Officer Pierre, who took the missing person report. We had Megan Bean, not related to Jasmine, who worked at Walmart for the receipts there. We had Kelsey Campbell, who was at Walgreens for the receipts there. Scott Miller was a condominium security. And investigator Zachary Crawford took the stand in the afternoon and started his testimony. He was the lead investigator, so he was a long one, right? So he covered pretty much the whole scope of what happened. He continued into day two
in front of the Walmart
for a good portion of the day. Then we went on to Douglas Lynch, who lived in the same apartment as Chen, and all he had was a doorbell ring cam. I'm surprised they didn't ask him questions about, did you hear anything that night? Because we do know from news stories and other things that people heard a scream. And I want to know when that was, that time, why they didn't do, I want to know why they didn't do anything that's not going to be relevant to this case. But I do have questions, but we had the doorbell ring cam, which didn't actually capture Mr. Chen taking the suitcase in and out, so we must have used another entrance for that. But it did see him going back and forth and looking right at the ring camera, so he knew it was there. So we got some of the times of his comings and goings, his shopping and everything. Let's see. So that was on day 2. Douglas Lynch with ring cam. Detective Stephen Bulkey is the homicide investigator. Got the T-Mobile phone records. Got the location of Chen's phone, and testified about finding the suitcase and bringing it up to the top and opening it and knowing that, just feeling the bags and knowing there was a body inside. Day 3, we've got Michelle Johnson. She was a crime scene investigator. Got a lot of the stuff from Chen's apartment. Got carpet samples. Tons of testimony about Blue Star. Mr. Chen's wallet. Covered a lot of chain of custody stuff. Things like that. After her was Kristen Schubert, who was great, by the way. The crime scene investigator that swapped the steering wheel, Jasmine's car, which unfortunately turns out to have mixed DNA that wasn't suitable for identifying either of the participants or the people that were in the mix. Let's see. It was there for part of the autopsy. Swabbed the bags, handcuffs and shackles. We had Gregory Martis, or Marty. He was retired. He was the retired investigator. This is all on day 3. Took swabs from Katrina Pace, Travis Pace for the homicide office. Collected Jasmine's personal belongings from the pool house, like the 2 toothbrushes, and transported other items like carpet swabs and the swabs from the defendant and the parents to the TBI. And he fingerprinted Jason Chen. He said he got a hair sample. I didn't see that. I didn't see the hair sample brought in. Jerry McElroy, also present for fingerprinting and assisted in taking 11 items to the TBI. There were 2 batches that went to the TBI. So those are the 2 officers that transported it. They were there for the continuity of the evidence, just making sure the chain of custody was not broken. Rachel Bakelitz, TBI Special Agent, Digital Forensic Unit. She was next to digital forensic analysis of the SIM card. On day 4, we had a little surprise, and the first thing, we didn't start with the witness. We had a little argument. The defense did not want the photos from the medical examiner's office shown on the screen, well, at all. But they knew that the state had the right to show them, and so they wanted to limit the exposure. The judge basically said no. They're going to do what they have to do. It's their case, but the media had agreed not to show them. So we had Dr. Stephen Cogswell, who was the medical examiner and a forensic pathologist, and that autopsy was quite thorough, and he was phenomenal. If we could rent him for every trial to be the ME, oh my goodness, the guy can explain well. He's got a good speaking voice. His style and delivery style is clear to understand. I mean, he's a teacher. Okay? He literally teaches, and it shows. So every answer was facing the jury. He was making eye contact. I think he was like looking for a visual confirmation that what he was saying was understood, and he was teaching to the knowledge level of the people who were listening. It was great. It was phenomenal. It was so good. He would not get pushed around by the defense, even though on the cross-examination, defense tried to like sort of, edge in and cut him off. And he's like, "Excuse me." And he literally just marked his territory all over that courtroom, and defense just sat back and said, "Yes, sir, sorry." All right. Talked a lot about losing blood, about how much blood, about 4 quarts of blood Jasmine at her size would have in her body, and how this death was a bleeding death. The death was because of the loss of blood. She bled out, and by bled out, most of her blood was gone. So much so that when he tried to take a blood sample, he uses a 10 milliliter tube to collect the sample. He was only able to get just over 5 milliliters of blood because there wasn't any more to collect. And that information is very pertinent because, he explained it as if you were painting a room, talking about if you have a gallon of blood, 4 quarts is a gallon. If you have a gallon of blood, if you have a gallon of paint, you can paint. I could paint most of this room in with a gallon of paint. I couldn't paint all of it because my walls are basically porous and a sponge. But if you had like proper walls instead of my house, you could paint a lot with a gallon. And he says, and we're sitting here looking at a spot of blood that's, this big. There's got to be more blood somewhere. And so that tells us that her body had been moved. There was a bleeding that happened somewhere else as well. So either it started here and then she was moved, or it started somewhere else and then she was moved here. So great testimony. Fantastic that way. Very difficult because he did go through nearly one by one all of the injuries, all 60 of the injuries, starting from the top of her head, literally at the crown of her head, working her way down. And most of the injuries were sustained in one general area. He keeps making this area. So imagine, a quarter of your torso, and it being sort of like the neck, upper shoulder, right side, back area. That was the area that was stabbed. And as he described it and described how the stabs, the direction of the stabs, where they went, where the puncture, how far it went, if it went all the way through, what it cut on the inside, it was gruesome. And it was also very telling. It painted a vivid picture of the attack. And I think most importantly for his testimony, it really solidified the idea that she must have been restrained at the time she received these attacks, which, based on his investigation, many of those happened, all of those happened before she died. So these were not post-mortem injuries. Bite Me, thank you for gifting a membership. Appreciate that, Rebecca. Let's see, so this was hard testimony. 60 injuries. A lot to listen to. He was on the stand for most of the time. The jury had, by my count, like 20 or 25 some odd questions that were asked from him. And the jury's been able to ask questions throughout this trial, which is great. About the only person they didn't ask questions to of any significance was Jasmine's mom. And that was the first witness. It's always sort of slow to start when the jury asks questions. But once they figured out the process, they've asked a ton of questions, and they were good. Oh, they were good. They're asking about, Blue Star, did injuries occur in more than one bedroom? Were the wounds cleaned with peroxide? Were there carpet fibers in the wounds? Was the blade examined for fingerprints? They're literally just like they are in the details of this case, which is great. They are paying attention and have been phenomenal. Regina Crawford gifted a membership as well. Congratulations, Valerie. Thank you for your generosity. The jury, I have no worries about this jury. I realize we do have, I don't know how many. We'll find out today how many alternates are sitting there. But anyway, I've got to go faster. After the Emmys testimony, we had a recall of Kristen Schubert just for a couple vehicle pictures and stuff that I think they missed. Then they brought back in the ME for a couple more questions the judge lost on his desk. So we brought him back in, answered a couple more of the jury's questions, and then we went to Kim Lowe, who's a special agent forensic scientist who did DNA analysis. Her testimony was not like the Emmy testimony. It was pretty difficult to listen to her. It was pretty flat, pretty, I would say robotic. It seems like I don't know if it goes with the profession, but the forensic scientists, they deal with very detailed, they're looking at DNA, okay? They're dealing with very small, minute details. And sometimes the wording of a question and the meaning, the answer to the question, they make them so precise that it's almost like, oh my goodness, you know what we were asking, right? so it can be a little painful to listen to. Bite Me, Buttercup sends butter sugars. Thank you very much for that. Anyway, it was a hard day yesterday, but it was a good day. And what we have today, what we have to look forward to, we anticipate that the state will rest today. The state will finish their case. They have one, maybe two witnesses left, and then at least that's what I remember. I think they have two witnesses left. Then they're going to rest the case, turn it over to the defense, and the defense, we anticipate, is putting on a case. Now, whether that includes Mr. Chen getting up and testifying in his own defense, I don't know. I would have to guess at this point that he's not going to. After the open, admitting he did it, I don't. It can't be good it can't be good. Okay, anything he gives might lean towards. I mean, under cross-examination, might lean towards that premeditation. And I'm sorry, Mr. Chen, you might be the smartest guy in the room. These prosecutors will get you. They will get you. So I don't think he's going to testify. He's not really asking, even though they told the story like it was self-defense. I don't think he's claiming self-defense. But that's where we are. That was some good questions that got missed. Yeah. All right. We do have courtroom observer today. Thank you very much, Kristen, for that. She says she'll be calling in when she can. So that just, when we have a courtroom observer, if I can, just request that we save the burner phone. Keep that, don't call in during the breaks unless you're the courtroom observer. That makes it easier so I don't miss the call. A lot of times they're on a very narrow window in a limited space, and so we'll try to save the burner phone for them during the breaks. Okay, I did that answer. Oh, and then after that, yesterday, since we're doing recap and we still have time because the judge hasn't started, we had the podcast, and we had Roy and Officer Brian on with us. Thomas and I were there as usual, and it was fabulous. We had a police chase with motorcycles that we watched. Yes, we had a police chase during the podcast. It was a lot of fun. They got away. Spoiler, they all got away. It started with 2 motorcycles and turned into like 20. And it was just a road takeover type thing. But it was a lot of fun. We got to hang out, had a little longer podcast than normal, and it was a great break. And I think a lot of people, I've got texts from people as well as we saw in chat. They was like, I needed that. I needed just a little reset, especially after a hard case like this. So that was a lot of fun. I'm glad you guys could join me. If you didn't, it's always available on the replay. I want to hear the closing from the defense, how ridiculous it will be. They've got to work their closing around the evidence that exists, or else the jury is just not going to believe it. And I don't know what they're going to say. Just beg for mercy is about all they have left. Bug Dugger, I missed the podcast, and I'm very sad about that. It was fun. We got to see wedding pictures from Weather Watch with photobombers, and epic photobombers as well. It was a lot of fun. All right. Who's there today? Kristen is there. Kristen will be there today. And we may... So who was it that said they were going to try to be there tomorrow? I wonder what witnesses we'll have today. Who do we have left? We've got the DNA. We've got the ME. Those are the big ones. We've got the lead investigator. We've got the mom. I'm not sure who else. Buck Dugger's like, of course I'd miss the one with all the things. Oh, Shaylin, that would be awesome. That would be awesome if you could be there tomorrow. Thank you. I remember the message and saw the face, but I didn't catch the name. Shaylin, if you're there, that would be cool. As always, we love having courtroom observers. Please do your best to know the rules of the court and follow them, because every court's different. And I wish they were all the same, because it would be a lot easier. But there are literally some courts where you can't even have a phone turned off in your pocket. It's like, don't bring it into the courtroom. And there are other ones where they're like, yeah, you can use your phone as long as it's on silent. You know, no phone calls, but and everywhere in between. There are some that only media are allowed to use electronic devices. There are some that they don't even want you taking notes. I know that's weird, but we've run into that. Let's see. All have different rules, and it could be they have like established rules for the courthouse, and then the judge might also make additional rules just for that case. It's wild and it's crazy, and it makes my life miserable. All right, everyone's offering to babysit so Shaylin can get to the courthouse. You've got some great offers out there. Greeners is there. Mel's signed up. That's awesome. All right. Josh just volunteers me, so that way you could check in on the baby when you call in. Hey, Mrs. R.A., how are you doing? You ready to steal my phone?
Well, yes.
Okay, we've got a court watcher that will be calling in. So here you go. What time are you coming back? Okay, I will not have a phone back until 11:30. So any text, any mod chat message, anything is going to go to Mrs. RA, and she will ignore it. Yeah, I'm sorry. The phone is so she can call out, not so that we can call her. But Mrs. RA just got a phone. She just got mine. How do we rate this seal out of 10? I would put this. I give it bonus points for being a relief image, and I would say the outside, the ring, is probably one of the best I've seen. I like the little stars or the bullets around the outside. I can't tell which it is. I like the outline lettering. I think that's very effective. It looks very stately. The inside, on the other hand, there's a lot of, I wouldn't say wasted space, but available area where the greatness of Tennessee could be depicted, and it's not. It's agriculture. Obviously, the farmers showed up for the committee meeting when they made this one. Commerce is almost a footnote. It's way down there in the shadow on the bottom. But I think Tennessee could do better. But at the same time, we've seen worse. I like the English. I like that I can understand what it says, except for the Roman language there at the top in numbers. XVI. Nobody knows what that is. XVI. Blank space is not always wasted. That sounds like all that wander are not lost. Comments funny. Yes, blank space does give it balance. I think it's great. Kelly's like, it's perfect. It's my state. It's perfect. All right. Probably looks better in person than it shows on the screen. Maybe, but I have to say, I love that it's got that top-down light right on it. Like the courtroom was set up with a light to shine on the seal. I think that's cool. I like the prominence that it's given. Basically, here's our subject matter jurisdiction sign. I learned Roman numerals from the Super Bowl. I know we've got 16. Everyone's saying that says 16. Why? Were they the 16th state?
Are we going to address subject matter jurisdiction?
What else would 16? Is that the Tennessee's minimum age for marriage consent? I don't know what the 16 is reference to. Kaboom. Lee's like, I'm from the number 1 state. 16th state, yes. All right. What's the picture on the bottom? It looks like a boat. Is it a boat? Is it supposed to be a boat? A boat with a telescope on the aft deck. Maybe if I knew what it was, it would make more sense to me. I think we've got up on the top. You've got the plow. You've got wheat. I think you've got cotton.
Thank you, sir. My new best friend.
The bottom really looks like water in a boat with a elevated teeter-totter on stilts. What's a boat going down the Tennessee River? A sextant? Rolled up sail. Is it broccoli or an atom bomb? Good question. That sneeze came out of nowhere. While the riverboat attested the importance of the river traffic to commerce, it was adopted as the official state seal in 1987. Interesting fact that this case, literally the suitcase that Jasmine was found was on the shore of the Tennessee River. Very important for commerce. 13 original colonies, but when did they become a state? See, 16th state. I would Google it, but my phone was gone. Mrs. already took my phone. That's where I do all my Googling. Thought it was a solar panel above the boat. Should be asparagus, not broccoli. Too soon. Didn't you say you wanted a new phone? I've got a deal with Mrs. R.A. When she borrows my phone, if she breaks it or loses it, because I think that the chance of either one of those happening is very high, then I get a new one, and she has to get a phone too. So apparently, I have to wait till I lose a phone before we both get one. We're late today because the court had some other business to conduct, and it looks like they're just finishing that up or getting that completed. I'll have to work the audio one more time here because I've adjusted everything since we're live last, but we'll do what we can to get this working. And the volume right. I can arrange a lost phone. The state animal is the trash pet? No. The raccoon is the state animal? The raccoon is not native to the United States. It is an invasive species on this continent. And are you serious that it's a Tennessee state animal? Is it because of the hat? Official wild animal. Wow. Stop, I love raccoons. Raccoons are cool. Mrs. R.A. would tell you otherwise. Her brother was attacked by a raccoon when he was a kid, and it nearly killed him. State animal is the mosquito, says Chili Bean. State wild animal. So if you get a new phone, Mrs. R.A. gets your old one. No, she would, well, if she loses or breaks my old phone, then it will need to be replaced as well. So we'd both get new phones. It would be a very expensive thing for her to lose my phone. I do that to incentivize her not to do it because she doesn't want to spend that money on two phones. Sophia, welcome. Good to have you here. This is crazy. It is indeed our official wild animal. Does it get protected? Because in every other state, I realize trash pandas are cute and they have as far as animals go, they are right up next to the monkey with how dexterous they are with their paws and what they can do. And they're super strong. But in most states, they are considered vermin. See, even Davy Crockett thought they looked best.
Eat off Sunday and work Monday. I'll confirm when I get back out. That looks like our schedule.
We're working Monday too, guys. That's it. 1 day weekend. You thought we had a long weekend, but no, we have a short one. Raccoons actually do make fairly good pets if you get them when you're young, but you need permits in most states to do that. I hope they're not protected. I may be in trouble. So apparently I was wrong, and raccoons are native to the U.S. Then I have to take back everything I say about them that was bad, because Davy Crockett had one when he went out exploring. Maybe it's the other way around. Holy cow. Trash Panda is native. I literally went my whole life thinking it was the other way around. Iris, this fun may grow for a long time, but I'm not sure if I can ever get her to bite the bullet and do it. There's a YouTube channel where there's a guy that goes out there and feeds raccoons hot dogs, and he'll buy like 150 hot dogs and feed them, and they're all like, rawr, and he's like, "Hey there, calm down. Here's a hot dog for you," and they're biting, and he's about to lose fingers, but he has like a deck covered with raccoons. Okay. They've been introduced in Europe and are considered invasive and of great concern. They were also introduced, I guess they were native here and introduced everywhere else. They're considered invasive species, including Germany, Russia, and Japan in the 20th century. They were first hunted for sport in the 18th century. It's not much of a sport. I mean, they literally just stand there and look at you. Raccoon Saloon is the channel. Squidward. As a closing restaurant manager, I used to hand feed the raccoons in our dumpster like food waste. They loved me. Day shift managers wondered why they were so eager to come up to humans. They're like climbing in cars in the drive-thru. I've never heard of people eating a raccoon. Raccoons are one of the most common animals to carry rabies. Stephanie Mitchell, I think you have two accounts. You might be logged into a different account. If you go on this account on your settings, it will show where your memberships are. You probably have two accounts with the same name. We've seen that before, so just check and see. You can do that by logging out on one of the ones that show you member and log back in and see if you've got the right account, and try that on your phone as well. I think it'll fix it. I'm like 99% sure. You can introduce Scent Bunny. I see what you did there. Hang on. Let me check something. Just 1 second. Okay, in the state that I was in, raccoons in Utah, it was illegal to release. If you catch a raccoon, it is against the law to release it alive. You have to kill it. It's literally, you could go to jail for releasing it. They're considered a nuisance. They're not protected by state law. The only catch to that is if you accidentally trap a raccoon, you must immediately release it unharmed. And you have to report it to the Division of Wildlife Services within 48 hours. If it's an accident. If you catch one on purpose, you have to kill it. So the idea that you can catch a raccoon that's a problem, that's like getting in your garbage and, you know, killing your chickens and all that, and release it somewhere else, not there. All right, we've got a slow start this morning. The judge said 10 o'clock. It's nearly 10:30. Johnny Thunders, hello to the UK in Birmingham.
I saw a chicken fight.
We set a trap one time in at our old house for a rat. We had a rat that had moved in. Oh, I think it was just one. Well, usually there's like 700, but a rat that moved in underneath our shed the neighbors had a wood pile on their side. We had a shed on our side, I think it was, and it had like burrowed in under the shed. And we're like, we've got to trap this. So we called the animal control, and they said, here, yeah, we'll bring by. You pay like a $10 fee, and we'll bring by a live catch trap, and catch the rat. And the trap was like, I don't know, it was about yay big, and it has little doors on both sides that close. And sure enough, it worked like a charm. And they caught a rat, and we heard the thing close, and we called them, and the guy came over, and that rat was like a Tasmanian devil in there. It was just chewing on the bars, like, just like tearing around in there. And the guy euthanized it in the cage. He couldn't even, he used like a needle on a long stick because he couldn't get close to it because it was like reaching, trying to bite him through the cage. It was wild. That rat was a beast. Yeah. Pet rats aren't bad. Wild rats are. This was a wild rat. This would be what you might term a sewer rat. It was like in New York, like at night when you stay out really late in the restaurant districts and stuff. And you see those dogs roaming in packs, then you realize the dogs have long tails that are low to the ground, and those are rats. It was one of those. I like pet mice. I used to catch mice like field mice and just treat them like pets. So I'm fine with those. And I'm fine with pet rats as well. But this one was huge. It like filled the whole trap. Lenny, greeters. Oh my goodness. Okay. Hey, you can close the door? Or hang on one sec. Why does RA always have bug and rat stories? Please, Judge, save us. I'm trying to fill the gap. Last rat story. My sister has chickens, and chicken coops draw rats because you have to feed the chickens. Chickens eat from the ground or from a feeder, and rats can do the same. So it's hard to have a chicken feeder that rats aren't able to access. It's not like a bird feeder that you can make squirrel proof. It's like having a bird feeder without any protection for squirrels. So she called a YouTuber. There's the Mink Man on YouTube came to my sister's house and brought trained ferrets or mink. Ferrets are like mink, but they were trained mink to help with the rats. It's a natural predator. I don't know why we're starting this late. I think the seal's just out of focus right now. That's why it's. Wendy's like, please, no more stories. Please. How on earth are the defense going to come back from yesterday? A plea change has to seriously be on the cards. Okay, let me just say this. How low is that? How low is that to drag the family through this and then change your plea after this has all been splashed all over the screen and described in detail?
After Mr. Chen was brought out, the parties went to approach this room.
So Mr. Chen's going to be brought out. The party's going to approach for a brief moment. There he is. I think that's a repeat tie. I think that's one from earlier in the week. Betsy. Carolina Panther player. Y'all want some of this coon? Y'all want some of this? Eats raccoons. Man. Mink are vicious, but he proved otherwise. He holds them. He trains them. They're pets. What do you know about Chen's family? We know that his mom and dad own a restaurant and, hardworking that way. And they thought he was a good kid. They might still. The Mari, we just did a full recap this morning of the case. All the preceding days. We're now on day 5. This is probably the most likes the channel has had at the start of court in a long time. We're already up to 462. Thank you very much for that. That's awesome. I appreciate you. I really do. Just knocked my water off. Alrighty. Back to seated. I got short. Desk is lowered. What's that thing on the wall? It looks like a maze with a scale on it. It's like an optical illusion with the scales of justice, which just seems, the meanings that could be inferred from that are quite hilarious. It's art. Don't overthink it. But if it is an optical illusion with the scales of justice, isn't that like complete the opposite of what the message the court wants to present? That here you will get fair and balanced treatment under the law. That and instead it's like sort of looks like justice. That high tone is my air vent. It's whistling. Is that better? That air vent means that I'm currently roasting. It means it's probably 95 degrees in here and the heater's on. That's what the sound means.
Bring the jury.
Petrified, are you saying that we don't have the specific lighting needed for this one? This is going to be a big day. This is going to be the final witnesses from the state, at least until we get some rebuttal. And we'll start to hear from defense. Most shocking verdict, probably the Pike murder one, where the verdict was, I think, done just to spite the prosecutor. Ms. McGuire, I actually have the vents in my room sealed off, but it does suck some air in around, like under the door. There's a gap, so it's not that hot. But I think more heat is generated from my electronics. You know what? I have a thermometer. Let's see. See, my switcher is at 95 degrees. My audio board's at 86. Laptop number 1 is at 103. Laptop number 2 is at 86. Switcher number 2 is at 101.4. Switcher number 3 is at 95.6. My hyperdeck is at 97.8. Camera is 100. There you go. Mac Studio is at 83. Yeah, I think most of the heat's coming from my equipment. The Mari, awesome. Thank you. I'm sorry you missed the recap on the first time, oh, you got it. You're feeling behind, but I'll be on the rewatch crew. There were some good moments, some hard moments. Yesterday was difficult, but all very pertinent. The testimony was mostly done phenomenally well. The computer monitor that looks like it's in front of Chen is actually in front of his lawyer. Chen has a notepad in front of him. I guess I should probably measure my own temperature as well. It says I'm 95.3. It's probably off. It also says don't point this at people. So this is not a people thermometer. LA missed. They got nobody. It was a big whiff. The bikers got away. They went under the freeway and sort of disappeared. He has been wearing glasses throughout this trial. He does use glasses regularly.
Good morning, jurors. We had a restful night last night. Fridays are a big day in court for us generally, so we've got a lot done this morning. So I appreciate your patience in getting this started a little later than usual. First, as always, I'll ask just to make sure everyone was able to abide by the court's admonition, not to let yourself be exposed to the media or not discuss the case among yourselves. You can just nod your heads, let me know, nodding your heads. I need to note that you decided you want to be off Sunday, but do want to work Monday. Is that correct? Again, if any one of you wants to take off Monday as well, we'll do that. If everyone wants to work on Monday, then we'll proceed on Monday. Let no one's objecting or all right. Jennifer, pardon, please.
The state will call Jennifer Moody to the stand.
Jennifer Moody. It's her first witness this morning. This is witness number 17. If we count Kristen Schubert as being 2 witnesses because she was recalled. Love this prosecutor. She is really, really good. I hope she gets to do the closing.
Solemnly swear affirm that the testimony about to give the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes, sir.
Love the little Under Armour logo.
Okay.
Good morning, Miss Moody.
Her collar.
Can you say your full name for the record?
Jennifer Moody,
And Miss Moody, where are you employed?
the Hamilton County Sheriff's Office.
What do you do at the Hamilton County Sheriff's Office?
The capacity of my current assignment is a fingerprint technician, according to the policy and procedure. It's considered a fingerprint technician.
Okay, and in your role at the Sheriff's Office as a fingerprint technician, what do you do?
Each morning I collect all of the police reports, accompanied by the disposition forms and the fingerprint cards from all the arresting agencies. First, they're sorted by date, and then they're sorted by agency after having checked to make sure the names match, the names on the fingerprint cards match the name on the reports. The charges are according to what the report says, and the ORI, that's original reporting incident, or the origin reporting incident, matches the agency for which the paperwork is going to go to.
Okay, and for what purposes do you have to go through all of those steps?
It's basically quality assurance to make sure that all of the charges that we submit on behalf of other agencies are correct and accurate.
Okay, thank you. And who operates the Hamilton County Jail? What entity?
Oh, the Hamilton County Sheriff's Office.
Okay, and when a person is charged with a crime, are they required to be fingerprinted?
That's correct.
Does that occur at the jail?
It does.
Can you describe that process to the jury?
That's correct. We use what's called a TENS machine. It's a digital machine provided by DataWorks, and they are an integrated software provider for criminal justice agencies. And so each fingerprint, if each finger is scanned digitally with a print of what they call a slap, that's the hand being placed flat, the full hand being placed flat, accompanied by a palm, just the lower palm, and then the upper palm.
And how are those records kept at the sheriff's office?
They're kept digitally.
Okay.
They're collected digitally and stay collected digitally.
Okay, and do you have any other job responsibilities when it comes to the fingerprints that are collected from individuals being booked at the jail?
No.
Okay. I'm going to approach with...
This is the machine she's talking about right here, the DataWorks Plus. It's a digital fingerprinting station. It's like a little kiosk.
Do you recognize those two pieces of paper?
These appear to be a front and back copy of a fingerprint card.
Fingerprint card from the Hamilton County Jail?
That's correct, yes.
And I'm going to... is this a record that is kept in the normal course of the sheriff's office business when it comes to operating the jail?
Yes.
And do you have access to these records?
I do.
Okay, Your Honor, I'd ask that this be State's Exhibit 212.
212.
All right, I'm going to show these records to the jury behind you. If you could, you can use either, but I'm going to be pointing to the screen behind you. Is this first page the page that you're looking at, which was that first print sample that you described?
That's correct. The bottom right and left-hand corners are what I described as the slap that is taken, and then the top ones are each individual finger.
Okay, and specifically, who are the prints taken by?
The booking officers.
Okay, are the booking officers required to insert the inmate's information into these print cards?
That's correct. Initially, they're entered into what's called CJIS. That's a criminal justice information system, so that they're on file for our records. And then those records are then imported into the machine prior to the prints being taken.
And who inputs the information about the inmate?
The booking officer.
All of it?
That's correct, yes.
Okay, and you can see on this print card, there's a name, Chen, Jason. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And then do you see a social security number?
Just below the name, that's correct.
Would that be the social security number attached to Mr. Chen?
That's correct.
And then you look down, you see his date of birth, is that correct?
That's correct.
And then can you describe to the jury what's over to the right of that, the M, the A, the numbers?
That is what's called an FBI number.
No, I'm sorry. If you'll look up to the screen, this part.
Oh, the M is the sex, the A is the race, and then the 601 is going to be the subject's height. The 170 is going to be the subject's weight. And then the BRO is the eye color, and then the BLK is the hair color.
Okay, and you were about to describe the FBI number. What is that?
Oh, the FBI number appears in that, well, it's not on that card yet. That would be, the FBI number would be in this box right here. It had not yet been assigned because prints had just been submitted, but the state control number is what's in the box to the left of the date of birth.
And how does the state control number correlate with the defendant listed?
It's an identifying number assigned by the TBI, and then the number that's not yet been generated is the FBI. each agency gives an identifying number to each record.
Yes, ma'am, thank you. And then the second page of that exhibit 212, what do we see here?
The top 2 dates. The top one is the date that the subject was fingerprinted. The block below it is the date the date the offense occurred. Sometimes those dates will be different depending on the circumstance.
And could it be different than a date of an offense of a crime if they are at some point charged with another crime and have to be fingerprinted again?
That could be one of the instances. Another instance is if we had a subject come in on serious felony charges that were extremely combative to the point that we had to allow a cooling down period of maybe a day before the subject could actually be printed.
Okay.
That's what would cause the discrepancy.
Okay. Are you aware in this case, and you may not be, are you aware in this case that Mr. Chen had been charged with 2 counts?
I am no, I was not aware.
Okay, all right, thank you. And then let's go down on this sheet of paper. What does this represent? 2756HS.
That is the badge number following by HS for Hamilton Sheriff. The 4 digits are the identifying badge number for the officer that had obtained the prints.
Okay. And then underneath that is what?
The charge for which the prints were taken.
Okay. And then residence is just simply what the defendant lists as their location of residence. Correct, yes. Is that right?
Yes.
The manufacturer is out of supply right now. As soon as they come back in, it should show available.
That were taken by 2756HS badge number. Did you go through the quality assurance process?
That's correct.
And you do that for every set of prints?
Every set of prints.
In fact, that's your primary job, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, nothing further, Judge.
Nothing from defense? They have questions? Seriously?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Is it Officer Moody or Miss Moody?
I'm a deputy. I'm in a sworn capacity, so it's deputy officer, whichever.
I apologize for that. I wasn't sure if I missed the introduction. How long have you been with the Sheriff's Office?
25 years.
Okay. And how long have you worked in the fingerprint division?
2 years.
And so you were working there in November of 2022?
That's correct.
Okay. When did you actually start in the fingerprint division?
Yes, please no comments about appearance. Sorry, I've been missing those. Let's be respectful in the chat to everybody.
And very, very limited questions for you here.
Sure.
Were there any cards that you were able to access for Mr. Chen prior to November of 2022?
Not to my knowledge.
And are you aware if he's been fingerprinted through the Sheriff's Office any more since November of 2022?
Not that I've noticed.
Okay. Is that the only record that you had for the purposes of your testimony here today?
That's correct, yes.
Thank you.
That was quick. Jury probably has no questions.
No, Your Honor.
Jury have any questions for Ms. Moody? All right, thank you, Ms. Moody. You may step down.
All right. On to witness number, I think I'm going to call it 17 because the recall was, let's see, number 10 twice.
Your Honor, stay with Paul Lieutenant David Franklin.
Somebody Franklin.
Lieutenant Franklin.
Lieutenant. I think Lieutenant Dave Franklin. We are nearing the very end of this case. I thought they have 2 witnesses, but they might have more. No prior arrests. No prior record. First run-in with the law was murder, and a gruesome one.
Solemnly swear affirm the testimony about to give the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes, sir.
Good morning, Lieutenant.
Good morning, ma'am.
Will you state your full name just for the court's record?
That's correct. David Franklin, Franklin.
And Lieutenant Franklin, where are you currently employed?
The Chattanooga Police Department.
What's your current role at the Chattanooga Police Department?
I'm the lieutenant of the Family Justice Center.
What is that?
Family Justice Center houses our Special Victims Unit and our Juvenile Missing Persons team, along with other roles in the city of Chattanooga. They have stuff for domestic violence and for abused children. It has our child advocacy center.
What position were you in at the Chattanooga Police Department before you became a lieutenant at the Family Justice Center?
The previous 13 years, 3 years I was in the late print unit, and the last 10 years I was the supervisor of the unit.
Okay, let's go back through your employment history with the Chattanooga Police Department. When did you join the police department?
2005.
And what capacity were you at that time?
A patrol officer.
How long were you a patrol officer at the police department?
Approximately 4 years.
And then what was the next division at the police department that you moved into?
The latent fingerprint unit.
Does that go by any other names?
APHIS unit.
What does APHIS stand for?
Automated Fingerprint Identification System.
What are the job responsibilities of a, would your title have been investigator in the APHIS division? Or
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, what are the job responsibilities of an investigator in the APHIS unit?
We receive friction-ridged skin evidence from crime scenes. We manually prepare that evidence to known individuals. We notify the investigator of our findings. We write reports. At times we can process items of evidence from crime scenes, and then when necessary we testify in court.
Okay, and at some point did you move up into a supervisory role in the APHIS unit?
Yes, ma'am, 2012.
And what position did you move into?
The sergeant of the unit.
What makes the difference between an investigator that you would have become in 2009 versus moving up a couple of years later into the sergeant position?
I oversee all the operations of the APHIS unit.
How many individuals are employed in the APHIS unit?
Currently there is 3.
And are all of those sworn law enforcement officers?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So in 2022, what position were you in?
2002.
2022.
22, the sergeant of the unit.
Okay. How many people were underneath you at that time?
There were 2.
Okay. Let's go through your educational history and your training history. Do you have to be specially trained to be a latent print examiner at the Chattanooga Police Department?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you describe, first of all, do you have a bachelor's degree, sir?
Yes, ma'am, criminal justice.
Okay, thank you. And can you describe, going back in time to when you first were in the APHIS unit, what training was required to be in the APHIS unit and be a latent print examiner?
Okay. For 2 years, the latent fingerprint unit, you're basically in training. You're learning. So I trained another certified latent print examiner. That examiner was certified by the International Association for Identification. I trained under him. During that time, I attended a school put on by the National Institute of Justice, the National Forensic Science and Technology Center. It is in Largo, Florida. It consisted of 12 different modules, 11 different modules of instruction. And in between that coursework, you do additional coursework and assignments and pass tests, of course. I completed that school, and during my time as a latent print examiner, I completed over 300 hours of continuing education in latent fingerprint examination.
That first training program in latent print examiner training program is how it's described on your resume. That was a long training, was it not?
Yes, ma'am.
What do you recall? What months?
It was a total of 10 weeks, but it was spread out over several months.
Okay. And in those 10 weeks, did you have to have training, a certain amount of hours of training in different types of subjects that deal with fingerprint examination?
Yes, ma'am. Each week was 40 hours.
Okay. And you testified that since then there's been over 300 hours of training. Does some of that training include IAI conferences?
Yes, ma'am.
You just mentioned it for the jury. What is IAI?
It's the largest professional organization in the world. It houses latent fingerprints, DNA, serologies.
Do you recall how many times you've attended IAA training since 2010?
I would say pretty much since 2012, every year except the last 2 years I've attended that conference.
Okay. Has your training been ongoing from 2010 when you went to the original latent print examiner training program? Was your training ongoing through your time in the APHIS unit?
Yes, ma'am.
Was that required by the Chattanooga Police Department?
No, but it is required by the IDOT. You have to have continued training hours to keep your certification. You have to recertify over 5 years.
Okay, so you can't just be certified and not worry about your training for 10, 15 years?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And you just testified about certification. Who certifies you as a latent print examiner?
The IAI, International Association for Identification.
Do you have to be certified to work in this capacity at the Chattanooga Police Department?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Are the other 2 individuals that work in the APHIS unit also certified?
Currently, one other person is.
And who is that?
Sergeant Salyers.
Salyers?
Yes, ma'am.
What are some subject areas that your training has focused on over the years when it comes to fingerprint examination?
Processing items of evidence, determining sufficiency of latent impressions, tell the difference in distortion, of the pressures of blood, biology of the skin, the history of latent fingerprint examination. The list goes on.
And after you were certified as a latent print examiner, were you recertified after those 5-year periods?
Yes, ma'am. I've recertified twice.
2016 and 2021?
I believe it was 2017 and 22, I believe those are the dates.
What types of cases at the Chattanooga Police Department does the APHIS unit work?
All crimes.
From burglary to a homicide?
Yes, ma'am.
And at whose request do you examine fingerprints?
It's when the officers or investigative units submits cases to our office.
In your years in the APHIS unit, both as an investigator and a sergeant, how many fingerprints would you say that you reviewed?
Items of evidence I've looked at for impressions, probably over 10,000. Comparisons, actually comparing a latent print and a known print, well over 300,000.
300,000?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And is there any type of peer review process at the Chattanooga Police Department?
Yes, we follow a scientific process known as ACE-B, which requires verification.
So would that mean that after you examine prints, if you're able to make an identification, somebody else would have to verify that identification?
Yes, ma'am, that's correct.
Is that a nationally known procedure?
It's a standard that we follow.
Does IAA require it?
No, SWGFAST, which is Scientific Working Group for Friction Originalis Study of Technology, provides standards, and that's one of their standards.
Okay, so the IAI doesn't even require it, but the Chattanooga Police Department still does that?
That's right.
Okay. And is the methodology that you use in fingerprint examination, is that accepted nationwide?
That's correct.
Your Honor, at this point, I would tender this expert as an expert in APHIS and fingerprint examination.
Any objection?
No objection.
Let the witness be recognized as an expert in APHIS and latent print analysis and examination.
Okay. So let's talk to the jury about fingerprints. Lieutenant, just in general, before we get to the case at hand, okay? Are fingerprints similarly to DNA unique to each person?
Yes, we have an additional thing where DNA, if you have identical twins, you can't tell the difference. Well, even identical twins have specific fingerprints just of that person.
Nobody in the world has the same fingerprints as another person?
No, ma'am. Your fingerprints are developed in the womb, about 12 weeks in utero. There's numerous stresses and strain, the rise and lowering of your molar pads in your fingers, biological history. They can never be a duplicate. That's why no one will ever have the same exact fingerprint.
Okay, and what about the different prints on each of our fingers? Do any of our fingers contain the same prints?
The basic three types, you have arches that come in one side and arching on the other side. You have whirl patterns that are whirls. And you have what's called loops, which flow in one side and not the other. So we all have those three, but your individual characteristics, what we call level 2, minutia, you may hear minutia or ridge events, those are particularly common to you.
Okay, let's talk in more detail about some of those words you just used. Minutia, what is that?
Minutia is ridge events. So, like I said, those characteristics, we look at fingerprints. So your ridges aren't just smooth, straight lines. They bifurcate, which means your ridge will go along and bifurcate into two separate ridges. You have a ridge that comes on and comes to like a ridge ending, and then there's simply as a dot, which a ridge is basically a ridge event that's as wide as it is long, or a combination of those three.
Okay, and you just mentioned ridge ends and bifurcations. Are those well-known terms in the fingerprint examination field?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Are there, you mentioned loops, arches, and whirls. Are those the three most common identifying factors in fingerprint examination?
Yes, ma'am. Loops are predominantly the majority of your fingerprints. Whirls is the second, and then your last about 5% are arches.
And you sort of already answered this, but can our fingerprints change over time in terms of age or if your body changes?
No, back to when you're in utero, the volar pads recess, your fingerprints are set. They don't change throughout your entire life unless they're altered by like disease or scarring. But once you scar the basal layer, which is the basic template of your skin, that scar will replicate the rest of your life, so it's even more unique.
Okay, thank you. And did you prepare some demonstrative PowerPoint slides for the jury to help us understand this? This is a complicated field.
Yes, ma'am, we did.
Okay. Behind you, I'm going to show the jury this slide, and I'm going to ask you, are there two separate types of methods to process fingerprint evidence?
Yes, ma'am.
Using this slide, can you talk to the jury about the two separate methods that are used nationwide?
You all right? Sit down, so I know.
Felix, if you could turn to my phone.
Yeah.
And Lieutenant, if you would like to use this one. Sure.
So what you see on the screen here is processing techniques, items for evidence. So depending on what kind of surface you have and what is secreted from the skin determines what kind of process you use. Predominantly what we use is basic fingerprint powder. So you'll see this here on the left. I'm sure you've seen on TV shows, CSI and all the cool shows, this basic fingerprint powder. And all that do is adhering to the sweat and the eccrine stuff that's on your skin on that surface.
Why does he get his own
However,
power?
we also could do a super glue fuming, which really on plastic surfaces and stuff is more suitable for this because it really fixates the print in, so you can use that. However, there's other process on here I forgot to put up here is if it's so these are all for non-porous surfaces. If you pour water on this table here, your fingerprint residue or the water on the surface would stay on top of that surface. Same thing with your fingerprint residue. If I touch this, the residue from my skin will stay on that surface. So we use these basic two to process. However, I touch my file folder here. That's a non-porous surface, right? If I pour water on this paper, it's going to be absorbed, and so we use a chemical process to process that.
Okay, and is one of these techniques considered more reliable than the other?
Not necessarily. They're both. It depends on the case and what they examine, what kind of surface and what is secreted from the skin. But predominantly, your cyanoacrylate or super glue fuming is more stable.
And what was being used in 2022 at the Chattanooga Police Department?
Both of these processes.
Okay, and in the case of State of Tennessee versus Jason Chen, was one of these utilized?
Yes, we use the cyanoacrylate.
Okay, so that photo on the left of that machine that none of us have ever seen before, except for you most likely, do you have one of those at Chattanooga?
Yeah, we actually, this is exact model.
Okay, perfect. I think you can sit it back down for another second, and then you might want to get up again. I want to move into defining some important fingerprint terms for the jury before we get into the evidence.
We've all seen it before.
You mentioned ACE-V. What is ACE-V?
ACE-V is an acronym for Analysis, Comparison, Evaluation, and Verification. It's the process we use to compare a known print to a latent print.
Okay. And does the A, C, E, and V stand for anything?
Yes, it stands for Analysis, Comparison, Evaluation, and Verification.
Okay, and is that a term that's used nationwide by examiners?
That's correct.
Is that the official process for examining with validity fingerprint?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And let's go to known impressions or 10-point cards. Your PowerPoint's on the screen behind you. What are known impressions or 10-print cards as they could be called?
Known impressions are an intentional recording of the friction-rich skin, and this can be done a couple of ways. But the predominant way we do that is black printer's ink. You just roll on the finger, and you roll that nail to nail on a contrasting surface such as a 10-print card to record that friction-rich skin. Your top 10 boxes are your rolled, and the bottom box is what we call the plane impressions, where they're printed down simultaneously. Or you could use basically what we call a live scan device. And a live scan device is basically a flatbed scanner. It does the same thing. It just takes images instead of ink.
Do you know which one the jail uses?
The gel uses the hemp gel uses a live scan device.
Okay. And this basically is when fingerprints are purposefully taken.
Correct.
From a subject.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right, the next slide, latent prints. So this is the other kind of fingerprints, correct?
Correct.
And can you describe these for the jury?
So latent prints are accidental or unintentional reproductions of that same friction-rich skin from secretions in your skin or a contaminant. Your body secretes mostly sweat, but it also has anchorin and amino acids, some other chemicals. Or you could touch a potato chip bag or get a contaminant on your hand and touch a surface, and that will reproduce that friction-rich skin.
Thank you. Are some latent prints better than others?
Oh, yes.
And can you describe that for the jury?
So there's different qualities.
We're going to turn the mic face a little better.
Yes, sir. So every recording of a latent impression is not a true recording of your friction screen because it depends on what's deposited, how long it's deposited. Are you like me, like in the middle of winter, you'll still sweat. I also leave better prints behind. And then so there's different qualities and quantity of details present based on several factors.
Okay, is part of your job determining the value of latent prints?
Yeah, so back to the ACV, your analysis stage is the first stage. We'll look and analyze the print. Is there sufficient quantity of those level 2 details, those bifurcations, those ridge endings, those dots, level 3 details, which is called edgeoscopy, which is the outer edges of those ridges they're not smooth lines either. They actually have peaks and valleys, like a mountain range. So all that we're looking at in the analysis phase.
Okay, so would you say that there are latent prints often located that are not of the quality that can be used for comparison?
Yes.
Okay. Does that happen often?
Yes, it happened in this case.
Okay. What can affect, you've mentioned this a couple of times, but what can affect the value of a latent print?
You're talking about how clear it is? Basically, what can affect it is basically not how fresh it is, but if there's any slippage or how hard the deposition pressure was or sliding, what kind of surface. Obviously, this table is a better surface to develop prints on, whereas like your new items, your refrigerators, your stuff in your home, your cars are basically repellent to fingerprints. They're made because you don't want to see those fingerprints everywhere.
Okay. What about liquid?
Yeah, liquid's not very conducive to fingerprints.
Okay. When analyzing latent prints with known impressions, what do you begin looking for at the very initial part of your examination?
So that's when you move from the analysis phase. So once you leave the analysis phase, you determine there's sufficient quantity of details present. Then you determine that print's of value. If not, you say the print's no value, you stop. So then you go into the comparison stage. I take those level 2 details, those bifurcations, those ridge endings and dots, and then any scars or edgeoscopy. You compare that to a similar location in a known print. Then you'll compare all the latent images, all the ridges in the latent image to all the ridges in the known print.
Okay. Is there a computerized system that can assist in potential matches between latent prints and known impressions?
The APHIS machine can give you a list of candidates compared to correct.
Okay. Is there any technology on a computer that you use when you're analyzing latent prints compared to known impressions?
No, we don't. We typically use just 2 loops, which is 2 magnifying glasses, or we can use like Adobe Photoshop and put both images up there that way.
So sometimes you use Adobe Photoshop.
That's correct.
Was Adobe Photoshop used in this case?
That's correct.
Okay. Is there, when you're examining prints, do you prefer to have the original print to use for examination?
That's correct.
Can you explain that to the jury?
So every examiner looks at latent print wants the original image to look at. I mean, there's, obviously, I'll be honest and transparent, there's errors out there. The Jeremy Mayfield case where they have to erroneously ID someone because they had a copy of a copy of a copy of an image.
The quality could decrease if as copies go on.
Correct.
Okay. And so, I'm sorry, did I cut you off?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So ACE V, we've gone through analysis, comparison, and then evaluation. It's probably fairly obvious, but what's the evaluation?
So the evaluation stage, the examiner can come to one of three conclusions. He can say he's made an identification, which is basically he or she is stating the latent and the known print came from the same source. Or he can say he's made an exclusion, which means the latent print and the known print did not come from the same source. And lastly, they can say they're inconclusive, which means they can't tell one way or the other whether it did or did not come from the same source.
It's interesting that we get this much
unit,
background on
did you often come
fingerprints
up with each of those three conclusions?
and almost none on DNA.
And then the last one in ACE-V verification, what is that?
So once you've completed your analysis, your comparison, your evaluation, you'll turn the case over to another independent certified examiner who will do their own analysis, comparison, and evaluation.
And that was done in this case?
Yes, done in all our cases.
Okay, thank you. Now let's move on to this case, the reason why you're here. In 2022, you were the sergeant in the APHIS unit, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. What were your responsibilities as a sergeant in that unit?
I was working our majority of our most violent cases. I had the most experience, and then I would also be tasked by the homicide unit to process items of evidence.
Was there, or is there still, a way that cases are distributed to fingerprint examiners in the APHIS unit at the police department?
Yes, ma'am.
What is that?
So they come in, we have red lock boxes, so we kind of keep bias out, so the officers or the investigators or crime scene investigators put those cases in a red lock box. We'll go every morning, open that red lock box, take them out, sign them, and they'll assign cases based on what type of crime there is.
Okay. In this case, were you asked to analyze certain items to potentially locate latent prints?
Yes, ma'am.
And do you recall what those items were?
Yes, it was 3 black garbage bags and 2 sets of handcuffs. And I did have a chance to look at the suitcase for suitability for fingerprints.
Okay, were there also 2 vehicles that you retrieved
Yes, ma'am.
latent prints from?
And I believe a Toyota, and then, y'all may look at my notes real quick. And a Toyota and a Chevy.
Okay, and jumping ahead and then we'll come back. After an evaluation, do you issue a report?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and in this case, did you issue a report that's specifically related to the Chevrolet, the Toyota, and the garbage bags?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. Let's first talk about the Chevy. Do you recall what kind of Chevrolet?
No, ma'am.
Did you actually take the prints off?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
Our crime scene unit processed them.
Okay. Were you able to locate any prints or did the prints that you received from crime scene, were you able to observe any latent prints that you could use for analysis and comparison?
Yeah, they submitted 4 separate impressions, lifts off the vehicle, and one of those lifts had a latent dose of value to compare to a known individual.
Do you recall where on the Chevrolet that latent print with value was?
The front passenger door.
The front passenger door.
The exterior.
Okay. And was a comparison made for that print?
Yes, ma'am.
Was there a positive identification made?
Yes, ma'am.
And who was that person?
It was made by Mr. Jim Cooper.
Why did so to make a comparison, you have to have known impressions and the latent prints, correct?
Correct.
Because if you don't have one, you have to compare 2 different things. Why did CPD have Jim Cooper's fingerprints?
So So all our impressions are run through that APHIS database. It gives a list of candidates compared to. So your fingerprint for numerous reasons, for applying for a job, maybe a teacher, a lawyer. There's numerous reasons why you're fingerprinted and it's collected.
So that latent print went into the APHIS system and it came back as a positive match with Jim Cooper.
Correct.
Do you have any knowledge of Jim Cooper's involvement in this case?
No, ma'am. When we're in our latent print unit, we stay back and try not to figure out who was involved.
Okay. And then let's talk about the Toyota Camry.
Who is Jim Cooper? Why did he
Were
touch your
there
car?
observable satisfactory prints on the Toyota Camry?
Yeah, there was 3 late impressions submitted, and of those 3, 1 was a value. Excuse me, 2 were a value.
Was there also a palm print from the Toyota Camry that was of value?
That's right.
Okay, so 2 fingerprints and a palm print were of value?
So each of the last 2 lists had multiple impressions of value.
Okay, all right, thank you.
You're correct.
And on that Toyota, were you able to identify where the latent prints on the Toyota were observed?
Yes, ma'am. The front driver's side hood and the front driver's, the second lift from the front driver's side hood, exterior.
And who did those, were you able to come back with identification on those prints?
Yes, ma'am.
Who were those prints?
And Investigator Crawford's.
Okay. Is it common in criminal investigations to locate an investigator's fingerprints on an item of evidence?
Yes, officers' first job is preservation of life. So they're trying to save someone, or they're trying to get someone in custody. Maybe an officer safety issue. They don't have time right away to put gloves on. So it happens quite frequently.
Okay. And now I'd like to specifically focus on the garbage bags. I'm going to show you, Lieutenant, what's already been identified or placed into evidence is Exhibit 185. Do you recognize this photo?
Yes, ma'am.
What's depicted in the photo?
This is our crime scene processing bay with the bags hanging out to dry.
And in fact, is that you in that photo?
Yes, ma'am.
Were you told where the bags were collected from?
That's correct.
Where, to your knowledge, where were those bags collected from?
They had held Jasmine Pace's body.
Okay. And I want to clarify something. Investigator Schubert's testified already, and it became confusing to me. The order in which the bags were numbered or identified, the 3 garbage bags have already been entered into evidence as 182, 183, and 184. However, the labeling, first of all, do you know who did the labeling in this case?
I believe she did.
Okay. One of them says that it's number 1, front most exterior. So do you know which bag that would have been around Jasmine's body?
From the documentation I received, number 1 was the most exterior bag, number 2 was the middle, and what bag she labeled 3 was the closest to the body.
Okay. From the outside in, 1, 2, 3.
Correct.
And so this one says number 2 middle, and then this one says number 3 back. It's slightly confusing. I'm assuming it's number 3, but do you know why I would say number 3 back?
No, ma'am, I don't.
Okay, it's just labeled confusing.
Yeah, I believe so. Yes, that was Investigator Booker who put those back in the bags. I'm not sure how she labeled them. When she passed the evidence on to me, I wrote down in my notes which bag she told me was in relation to the body. And that's when I did my investigation.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
And were you able to locate latent prints on any of these garbage bags?
Yes, 2 of the bags.
2 of the bags. Do you recall which bags?
Bag number 1, which was the furthest from the body, had 4, and then the bag that was closest, most interior bag, the interior of that bag had 1.
Okay. And were any of those latent prints of value high enough quality to be examined for comparison purposes?
Only one set.
And what set were those?
That was lift A.
Where was lift A on the bags?
The exterior of the third bag.
Okay. And can you describe at this point in any detail the quality of those latent prints that you just described as lift A on the third bag?
So the quality of these images, or the latents in that case, I would consider a medium low to medium high quality. It did have some slippage or distortion at the very end, but the core of the impression was really clear, solid, and based on me looking at the prints, I'd say medium low to medium high quality.
Bring me some water. I heard you get free water for testifying. Need some water.
Lieutenant, I'm going to hand you 4 photos, ask you to look at them, tell me if you recognize them. Do you recognize those photos?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
What are those photos of?
These are photographs of the image of the latents that are of value.
I only cook on medium high.
From garbage bag number 3.
From garbage bag number 3, correct.
That you were able to compare to known impressions.
That's correct.
Your Honor, I'd ask that these be collected exhibit 213.
Four picks.
Yes, Your Honor. Using exhibit 213 behind you, can you describe for the jury, and you're welcome to use the laser pointer if you like, can you describe for the jury what we're looking at in this photo with a DF number 1011A on it?
So DF1011 is my initials and my badge number, and this is image A, so we document sequentially, so if there's more images, we're going to B, C, D, and so forth. We've had scale tape in because when you take a photograph, you want a true one-to-one image of the latent. You're going to compare it. And then down here you see the 2 fingerprint impressions that were laid down simultaneously, which means at the same time. This has been super glue tuned, so your ridges you're seeing up here on the screen, these white, that's the actual friction-rich skin. And the black is actually the furrow, which was in between the fingerprints.
Okay. I'm sorry, was there more you wanted to identify?
Well, you also see some voids, and we'll explain what those voids are. That's the substrate that it's on. The bag creates voids. And there's also pockets. It's like if anything plastic is crumpled up, it'll create voids in the bag.
That's what the black marks are that have no white in them?
Correct.
Okay. Second page. Actually, let me go to the I'm sorry, this is the second and the third page. Can you describe what we're seeing here?
So these are my markings. When I determine the prints are of value, we'll mark the upper portion of it, and we'll put our complaint number and which number we put on it. So these are marked with our complaint number, and they're images 6 and 7. And then also in this image, it has been reversed. So previously the slide, can you go back one slide?
Yes, sir.
These ridges are white. Well, most examiners, we want to see black ridges, which are your brain's used to seeing. So we're going to be photoshopped in this flip, invert the colors. All we did was invert the white images to the black images. If you go to the next slide, the ridges are not black.
Dun, dun, dun.
And what's the significance of the numbers that have -06 and -07 at the end? The -07 is a little harder to see. It's right under the ruler.
06, 07. So we previously on the Chevy and Toyota had images or latents of 101, 2, 3, 4, 5. So when I got the bag, this would be limited images. The latent images 06 and 07.
Were 06 and 07 what were used to make a positive identification?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I'm also going to show you going to go to a fourth slide here. This was the fourth photo in exhibit number 213. Can you, using this photo and this slide, can you explain any further about that photo?
It's the same image I showed you before without the markings. So it's just the ridges have been inverted from the cyanoacrylate to black. So the ridges are black. And this I have markings on yet. I haven't marked it yet. This is what as we photograph that day, this is what the image looked like.
I understand. I'm going to hand you what has already been admitted into evidence as exhibits 198 and 199. There's 2 documents with each of those exhibits. Can you look at those? Do you recognize those documents?
Yes, it's known impressions.
Okay, and I've got it on the screen here. This is exhibit 198. There's 2 pages. These are the 2 pages. Are you familiar with Investigator Martis?
Yes, ma'am.
Does he often, did he, when he was at the Chattanooga Police Department before he retired, take known impressions from individuals?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and you recognize these as the known impression print cards that were taken from Jason Chen?
Yes, I was present that day.
You were present when Mr. Chen was fingerprinted?
Investigator Martis, correct.
Yes, okay. And you'd agree that these are the 4 cards collected from Mr. Chen on that day at the police department?
Yes, ma'am.
Were these print cards, were these known impressions what you used for comparison?
That's correct.
Okay. So explain that to the jury. When they now see the known impressions in the same set of slides as they see the latents. So explain that comparison process.
So then we would go back to our office. We would put the latent impression on the screen and the known impression. We'd take those cluster, those level 2, level 3 details I was telling you about, the bifurcations, ringing dots. I would look for that in first in the latent impression. Then I would look for that in a similar location in the known impression. So then you would compare all the ridge events, all those ridges.
I'm surprised this is still done manually.
Previously on that latent image, you compare it to all the ridges in the known impression.
How lengthy of a process is this?
It takes a long time to base on how quality and quantity the details are.
Okay. And based on your examination, you testified that there's only 3 options, that there's a positive identification, that you can exclude the known impression from being the same individual as the latent, or inconclusive, correct?
That's correct, ma'am.
Okay. And in this case, when we talked about -06 and -07 on one of the latent print photos, were you able to make a positive identification?
That's correct.
All right. I'm going to show you what's already been admitted as Exhibit 212, collective. Would you agree that this is a different print card than the prints collected by Investigator Martis?
Yes, this is the live scan recording of the scan.
From the Hamilton County Jail?
Yes.
Did you use, for your either investigative purposes or for your testimony today, did you use the Hamilton County Jail prints?
I did use it to create a chart.
Would that be a chart to help the jury understand identification?
That's correct, ma'am.
Okay. And is this something that you often do?
For every case.
Okay, thank you. Do you recognize those documents?
That's correct.
What are those?
This is the chart that I created for court purposes.
And did you create 2 charts?
That's correct.
Explain what those 2 charts are and why you created 2 of them.
So one chart has the latent impression 06 and 07 marked up with those minutiae, those ridge events. And the second chart has the prints bearing Jason Chen's prints with corresponding ridge events.
And again, why'd you do that with 2 separate prints?
So you can see for yourself how they matched up.
In 2 separate sets of prints?
And 2 separate sets of prints, yes.
Okay. Your Honor, I'd ask that these be admitted as, I believe, 214.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. I can staple them.
We had so little background on DNA, and we got a whole PowerPoint on how fingerprinting's done. I'm surprised they
Display
inverted
for the
that.
jury. The second page of Exhibit 214. So, start for the jury here what we're looking at.
So this is a live scan image of those temporary cards you saw, the ones that the Hamilton County Sheriff's Office took. So this is the left ring and left middle finger from that temperament card on the screen of Jason Chen's.
Okay. And I apologize, that is just a demonstrative exhibit. This photo is the first page of Exhibit 214.
Thank you. Say my name.
Well,
Appreciate you hanging in here. Get some sleep, though. We'll be here. We'll be here all weekend, apparently.
PowerPoint has gotten rid of your... 1 second, Judge.
Somebody turned off the lights.
Might have to do this a little bit different because of how PowerPoint presentation is working, Lieutenant Franklin.
Yes, ma'am. You need the document can.
I might have to. We'll see if this works here. Your Honor, I'll have to use the document cam. I apologize, Lieutenant Franklin. Some of it didn't show up in PowerPoint.
No problem.
Yep. All right, so here's that slide with the numbers that are going to be helpful for the jury. Can you describe for the jury in this 214 exhibit what we're seeing?
So once again, you have the two late impressions. You have late in 06, late in 07. Then you have the corresponding ridge features that are marked as minutia once again, bifurcations, red endings, dots, with red arrows going to those associated numbers. So in this image here, you have 20 ridge events that are marked.
And are those 20 ridge events what you were able to look at and then match to a certain person's fingerprints?
That's correct.
And is that certain person Jason Chen?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Is this a common practice, a common demonstrative exhibit in your examinations?
Yes, when I testify in court, I always prepare a chart for the jury.
Okay. In every case, are there 20 ridge points? Is that the right term?
It depends on the late impression.
Can there be less than that?
Oh, yes.
Can there be less than 20 with a positive identification?
Yes, if the Scientific Working Group for Research Analysis Study Technology has a simplicity chart that basically gives you a guideline if your quantity or lateness is better or less, how many ridge events you need to affect an identification.
How many ridge events do you need to affect a valid identification?
1983, the IEI, which is once again the governing body, determined there's no scientific proof for a set number of ridge events to affect an ID. Depends on each examiner's training, experience, and knowledge. With that said, certain labs or agencies will have a threshold. We do not have a threshold, but there are agencies out there may have a threshold of 10 or 12 and so forth.
What do you feel comfortable with?
It's each case is specific.
Okay, in this case, you feel comfortable with 20 ridge events?
I've never seen anybody have 20 ridge events in common that's not been the person we identified it to. There's no one's had 20 ridge events that match up.
Thank you. And then the other page to Exhibit 214. Tell the jury what we're seeing here.
So these are the known images of Jason Chen's left ring and left middle finger, and that's the corresponding ridge events that match the previous slide of the late impression. So you have, once again, you have 20 ridge events. That's not all 20 that match, but this is 20 that mark on the chart.
Understood. let's go back to the report that you prepare that memorializes your findings. Is that a copy of your report?
Yes, ma'am.
And do you prepare a report such as that in all your cases?
Yes, ma'am.
Your Honor, I'd ask that this be Exhibit 215.
That's a nice print.
We're going to show
It's
it
a really
to
good
the
print.
jury lieutenant. Hopefully we can go back to PowerPoint. Your Honor, DVD. Okay. Is this part of your report?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. I didn't want to get it too small, so I separated it into 2 slides. So this is slightly complicated because everybody else is not used to these type of reports. So let's go through this. When it says submissions, what are we talking about with submissions?
Anything that was submitted on the case for us to look at, either latent prints or known impressions from individuals.
Okay, and you had testified that the Chevrolet, the Toyota, and the garbage bags were presented to you in this case.
That's correct.
And then the other items, real briefly, because you mentioned the other items that you also examined for prints. Were you able to make any positive identification on any of those items?
No, neither item had any impressions or latents to compare or even look at.
Okay, thank you. And then the known impressions that you have, were you able to add that to your report after positive identification was made?
That's correct.
Okay. And on the photo of the latent prints on garbage bags, you would agree it says DF1011A, A through E here.
Yes, ma'am.
But those photos showed DF1011A, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So then we go down to analysis, and you can see KMBA. You've put Chevy above that. What does this represent here?
That's the lift that was a value that I could compare to another individual that was off lift of KMBA, which Kristen Booker at the time, that was her lift.
And can you explain what the 22-128018-1-01 is?
That's the complaint number from the top, and then that is latent 01.
So we're using that number to identify this particular latent print.
Correct.
Okay, and then the Toyota, we see here, as you described, front driver's side hood, exterior, presented 3 impressions. And we can see that says 02 to 04 after that complaint number.
Correct.
That's because there were 02, 03, 3 prints identified.
3 prints, that's correct.
Okay, and then MJ 74585, document is being recovered off the front driver's side hood. Again, now this is 05.
Correct.
A 4th, and this was also Investigator Crawford's.
Yes, it was.
02 to 05 were Investigator Crawford's.
02 to 05 were Investigator Crawford's.
Okay. Now we're going to go to the next page. When you start at the top here, now you get to garbage bags.
Correct.
And you can see the DF1011A, which is reflective of the bag and the identification on the garbage bag.
Correct.
Okay. Document is being recovered off garbage bags. Exterior presented 2 impressions. Those are the impressions you've testified to. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And then your conclusion section at the end here is where you make your identifications and you report them in your official APHIS section examination report.
That's correct.
So what you had previously testified to was the fingerprint on the passenger side door of the Toyota was Jim Cooper's.
Correct.
The fingerprints found, the only examinable fingerprints found on the Toyota were from Investigator Crawford.
That's correct.
And then the 2 prints of quality to examine from that garbage bag around the body of Jasmine Pace were made by who?
Were made by Jason Chen. The prints of value were made by Jason Chen.
The prints that were not of value that you received or that you were able to extract from the other bags, they can
be compared.
Okay.
There it is. Prints of value were Jason Chen's on the bags that her body was in.
I believe that's
This is correct, Katie. According to the law, he's pled not guilty. The jurors have received no evidence that he's guilty, or no admission that he's guilty from him legally. We've received a lot of evidence that he's guilty. That's from the state.
Good morning, Lieutenant.
So the state does have to prove it right there. Here's the cross.
Just a couple of things that I wanted to clarify. In this case, you have created a report. Thank you. You're already finding how the document came in. Showing you what's 215 here. This report was issued, I'm going to assume January 3rd, 2023, correct?
It was written then.
Okay. And who did the verification of your report?
Sergeant Sayers.
Okay. And does he have a separate report?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. That's not included within your report. His would be individual, correct?
Correct.
Just to draw your attention, I'm going to show you also what was marked as Exhibit 214. You've indicated that the numbers here, actually before we move to 214, still on 215, you've indicated that there is a complaint number 22128018.
Correct.
Is that correct? And down here under the garbage bag, there's the same number, 22128018, and then it has the -6 and 7. What does that mean?
It means latent impression 06 and 07.
And so that would mean prints that were picked up from the bags.
Correct.
Okay. Now, drawing your attention to 214, and I'll start with page 1. There's a number up here that is listed as 22128019-0609. What does that mean?
So 06 was the latent impression 06. 09 is a clerical error. It should have been 07 on the screen.
Okay. Is the 19 also a clerical error
Yes,
for the case number? So
Yes,
that should read.
we read it in the PowerPoint. The PowerPoint has the correct information. This was outdated.
Okay. So it should be 22128018-0607.
07, correct, ma'am.
Okay. And so that would match the two examinations that you've performed in 215, which were signified as 6 and 7.
Yes, ma'am.
Where were those latent prints obtained?
On the bag or?
Yes, on the bag.
On the exterior most, the third bag, most exterior bag. On the exterior, not the interior, but the exterior of that bag.
So the prints were from the outside of the most exterior bag.
Correct, ma'am.
Now, you mentioned earlier that the testing that you did in 214 was used with prints from the Hamilton County Sheriff's Office. Or did I misunderstand that?
That was used to complete the chart.
To complete the chart. Okay. And to clarify, do you use the Sheriff's Office prints for every case or make the chart for every case?
Make a chart for every case.
Okay. And so this was typical work that you do, or that you did do while you were in the APIS unit?
That's correct, ma'am.
Did you use the Chattanooga Police Department prints or the Sheriff's Office prints for your investigation?
We used, to make the actual ID, we used the prints, the major case prints that Investigator Martis submitted.
Okay. And you were present for those prints being obtained?
Yes, ma'am, I was.
Now, the prints that were used from the Sheriff's Office, were you present for those prints being obtained?
No, ma'am.
While doing your testing on these prints, did you have any instances where there was difficulty for you matching or processing the prints?
No, I mean, when we look at latent prints, we take our time. I believe the day that I got them, I think it was 2 days later before I even started marking or looking like in detail at the print.
Now, is Investigator Sawyers the only person that reviewed your work?
Officially reviewed, yes.
Okay. Unofficially? Did you have other people review?
Yes.
Outside of CPD or within CPD?
2 other certified, we only have 2 certified labor examiners to CPD, so we have to, if we want a third person, we have to go outside CPD.
Did you use a third person in this case?
Yes.
And who was that?
Monica Datz with Brown County Sheriff's Office.
Okay. And does she do an independent analysis as well, or do you send her your report and ask her to just confirm it?
No, she does her own independent analysis, comparison, evaluation.
So within CPD, Investigator Sawyers, would he also conduct a truly independent, do you use the same procedure where there's no bias in a red box?
So if you have a single latent fingerprint, which means just one, we would do a complete form blindness test where we wouldn't even allow you to see the notes or anything else. When we ID multiple prints, the secondary examiner gets all my case notes, gets everything, because his job is to prove me wrong.
Okay. And was Monica Datz, sorry. Was she the only individual that also reviewed your work?
No, I sent it to a companion who works in Omaha, Nebraska.
What was the purpose of sending it to 2 other people outside of your agency?
So when you get a quality latent, they're really high quality, right? There's no concern. When they get a little less quality, and you've looked at it over time, to keep bias out, you want other opinions, other sound scientific process, you want more than one person looking at it. Make sure you're not being biased.
Did you have concerns of potential bias in this particular case?
No, ma'am.
Did you have concerns of uncertainty?
No, ma'am.
Related to the prints?
No, I did a thorough analysis, comparison, evaluation. I came to one conclusion on these prints were made by Jason Chen.
Okay. Now you mentioned also the handcuff and the suitcase being submitted to you for potential prints. Did you formulate any kind of report based on those pieces of evidence?
No, Mr. Booker asked me to look at the suitcase to see if it was suitable, and we agreed that it was not suitable for fingerprints based on the texture of it. The handcuffs I did, and I did create a report for the handcuffs.
Okay. Now, that's not any of the reports that have been presented to date, correct?
Not that I'm aware of.
While you've been testifying, we've not seen that report?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you. Has that report been provided to the state of Tennessee?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, Investigator Franklin, in Exhibit 213, behind you here, the signifiers here, David Franklin badge 1011.
Yes, ma'am.
And then the A stood for, this was
My
lift A.
my first lift. So when each investigator processes an item of evidence based on that complaint number, you start with A. So any image, any lift you take, that would be your first one, and then you go sequentially to Z and then double A and so forth.
And is there a report that shows what A is?
Yes, my official report.
So the official report is what can tie those two together?
Yes, ma'am.
And so this is the exterior of the bag that's listed under -06 and 07.
Correct.
Both of the prints come from this one.
Correct.
Did you have any usable prints from bag 2, bag 1?
What is your definition of usable prints?
That you were able to test?
I did develop other prints, but they were not of value to compare to someone else.
Okay.
So you have to be the threshold of being of value. If there's not sufficient quality of details to the ridge events, I can't compare to someone. So we stopped the process.
At any point were these bags reprocessed, or did the fingerprints get worse?
So we use cyanoacrylate first. Actually, we do a sequential processing. So we look at the bag visually, use alternate light sources, then we go to the next step, which was superglue fuming. We photographed the superglue, and then I did additional tests and basically applying a dye stain, which is a chemical that fluoresces under different wavelengths, and you use barrier filters and goggles to see those. We used that process, but it didn't make them any clearer.
And just to clarify, you at CPD, not you necessarily, but CSU rolls and ink, correct?
Yes.
When you're talking, you used the term earlier, live scan. Is that like a copier where somebody goes in and basically puts their hand down?
It's basically a flat scanner. It's taking images of your friction-rich skin.
And if I may have one more.
My snack, you can buy it on Amazon, but it's like 3 times more expensive there. You get it from Sam's Club. It's Members Mark brand. Steak strips. It's like a thick cut jerky, but not enough pepper.
Lieutenant Franklin, that's all I have for you. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Can you read the record?
No,
Does the jury have any questions for Lieutenant Franklin?
Okay, give me a second to finish my snack. They took a break right when I popped a bit of jerky in my mouth. Judy M., member for 14 months. Congratulations. 14 months with RA. Love being a juror, and thanks, RA, for your kindness in the midst of mayhem and trials. I'm always up for a car chase. Peace. Love y'all. Iris, thanks for the phone fund. Bite Me as well. We had Regina Crawford, gifted a membership. Bite Me, gifted a membership. And Ricky Watson, member for 22 months. Sarah Gould as well. Thank you. Thank you very much all for your support of the channel. That makes this all possible. Thank you. Let's see. Yeah, this has a little, like a hint of smoke flavor to it. Not much. It's like just beef. It's so mild. I think they seasoned it with sesame seeds. Really, there's just like nothing there. I need to like roll it in black pepper, or maybe get some of that flat iron pepper flakes. Oh my goodness! And just like dump a bunch in the bag and just like shake it up. Jerky has to have, it's got to burn your eyes. That's how you know it's good jerky, when your eyes water and smart just a bit. I like it hot. This is mild. I love flat iron pepper. Okay. While we have a break, while we wait for the jury to do their questions about fingerprinting, let me tell you, this little company that makes flat iron pepper flakes has got it right. I don't know what they do to make it differently. I always thought like McCormick red pepper flakes were like the bomb, but no. I'm going to share a little link with you guys. These guys have, let's see, let me get this link. I think that works. Over to YouTube. Let me post this for you. Here we are. Okay, here's the link. I think.
Morning, Lieutenant. Morning, sir. The jury has a few questions for you. I'm going to ask them that you can face the jury when answering, please.
Yes, sir.
Can you explain the process of how latent prints are looked for? Is it done over a large area, i.e. the entire trash bag or the entire car hood, or a smaller targeted zone based upon a visual inspection with the naked eye?
So examiners will look for the entire area. So if we had a car, for example, we'll process the entire car from front to back, the interior. They tend to key on areas where they think it's more of a touch. Obviously, the middle top roof of an SUV, more likely not going to be touched, but areas to the door, the front, the back. Obviously, in this case, we process from the hood of the vehicle. So the garbage bag is a smaller item. I process the entire bag. All 3 bags, interior and exterior. When you run cyanide or super glue filling, any prints or any residue on that bag it will attach to.
Do you recall if Investigator Crawford ever shared with you the occasion in which his prints were made on the Toyota?
No, he didn't. I ran those prints. We run all prints before we know any information. I had no idea those were Investigator Crawford's prints. So
you may need to refer to your notes for this one if it's helpful. Can you please confirm the number of the bag fingerprints of value were found on? Is it bag number 1 or bag number 3?
Yeah, bag number 1, the one I have labeled the most exterior bag, was the one on the exterior of that bag, not the interior. The exterior of that bag is the 2 prints that were identified as Jason Chen.
And just so the jury's clear on that, we'll make sure there's an outer bag, a middle bag, and an inner bag. There's an exterior and an interior of each bag, correct?
Correct.
Can you just explain that?
So each bag, also you have outside of the bag, and there's also the interior of the bag. So those prints are on the 3rd bag, which is the furthest from her body, and it was the exterior of that bag, not the inside of that bag.
Were fingerprints found on the handcuffs?
No, we have a new process of the recovery system, so we use copper and gold to process things. I use the recovery system, and there was nothing in the bag. The handcuffs were very pitted and weren't very good, were suitable for fingerprints.
Any redirect based on the jury's question?
Yes, Your Honor. Lieutenant, you testified that there was an official APHIS report related to the other testing that the jury has not seen?
Correct.
Of the handcuffs?
Correct.
Are you certain that you gave that to the state of Tennessee?
Yes, ma'am. It was on the CDI submitted.
Do you have that with you today?
Yes, ma'am.
Will you pull it out?
Whoa.
Actually, it's not on the CD. The CD that I submitted to you was the only one. I've got the photos of the bags.
Okay, and so in that report, the handcuffs were tested, the suitcase?
Suitcase was not tested. We did a visual exam, but it was not tested.
What in the other report was tested?
Only the 2 handcuffs and the 3 garbage bags.
Well, the 3 garbage bags were in the report that we saw today.
Okay.
Is there another report that reflects the testing of the handcuffs?
We might have a problem.
Only the handcuffs?
No, it has the handcuffs and so when you do a processing request, where you can process items of evidence, crime scene will do a document saying what they processed, how it was submitted, what process was used. So I did that report, I submitted that report, and then the second report is only prints that are of value we looked at. That would be the APHIS report. So the crime scene report and the APHIS report.
1 second, Your Honor.
It sounds like he's testifying to a report that prosecution does not think they have. If they didn't have it, or if they do have it and they didn't know they had it, it's a problem because they might not have turned it over to the defense. I know it's a little sketchy here, but this is the sort of thing that could cause a mistrial.
I want to be clear about something. So what I'm showing you is the APHIS report that verifies the fingerprints from the bags were Mr. Chen's, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Are you saying that there's another report like that?
No, ma'am. This is the official APHIS report. So there's 2 separate reports. The crime scene does a report, so when I process items of evidence for crime scene, I am part of the crime scene. So then I would do a processing request saying every technique I use, how I process it, what time it was processed, what sequential processing I do. So I'd write that report. Since there was no prints of value, there was nothing on the handcuffs, would not go in an APHIS report because there was no prints developed.
Do you now understand where the confusion lies
Yes, ma'am.
in that exchange?
Yes, ma'am.
There is no official APHIS report for anything else
Correct.
because there was no identification.
There was no prints developed on the handcuffs.
Nothing further, Judge.
Okay, that was good. Crisis averted.
No further questions, Robin.
Any questions from the jury based on that exchange? All right, thank you, Lieutenant. You may sit down.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Ivan, let me get you the P.O. box. I would sign up for that any day. I haven't had venison jerky since I was a
We got started a little
kid.
late today, so we'll try to go until 12:30 or 1. Your lunch should be here sometime in that time frame.
Hopefully we can get through one more witness in that time period, Judge. The state would call Sergeant William Salyers to the stand.
Sergeant William Salyers. It's going to be our 19th witness. Actually, 18th.
Hello, Sergeant Salyers.
Hello.
Will you state your name for the court's record?
Sergeant William Salyers,
All right. And Sergeant, where are you currently employed?
Chattanooga Police Department.
And what unit do you currently serve?
I am in the APHIS unit, which is our latent fingerprint unit.
Let's go back through your history at the Chattanooga Police Department. Your Honor, may I have that DVD? When did you begin your service at the police department?
In 2006,
In what capacity?
I was a patrol officer.
For how long were you a patrol officer at the Chattanooga Police Department?
Approximately 3 or 4 years.
Okay. And then at some point, did you move to another unit?
Yes, in 2010, I moved to the crime scene unit.
The jury's heard from a couple of crime scene investigators, but can you describe your responsibilities when you were a crime scene investigator?
Well, I would respond to scenes and I would document those scenes with notes, photograph, video, collect any type of evidence and report all that stuff to the case file when appropriate to testify in court.
Okay. And at some point from the crime scene unit, you moved to APHIS, is that correct?
That's correct. January 2015, I moved to the APHIS unit.
And when you began in the APHIS unit in 2015, what was your role?
I started on entry level to examine fingerprints and report all those case findings and to the case file, but mostly training as soon as I got up there because I didn't have any kind of training in fingerprints. So I trained under a certified latent print examiner for over 2 years, and since then I've attended over 500 hours in specialized training, and I've attended the IAI conference as well as the IDEMIA conference every year since then.
Is it common practice that when an individual moves to the APHIS unit at the Chattanooga Police Department, they have got to be trained for a certain period of time?
Yes, we typically train for 2 years, and the IAI certification board says that you've got to train for at least 2 years if you have a college degree before you're even eligible to take their certification test. So we kind of hold to that model as well.
And sir, do you have a college degree?
I do.
And what did you get your degree?
Business management.
All right.
He is not working in his field.
Who did you train under at the Chattanooga Police Department?
I trained under Lieutenant David Franklin.
And you testified that you have been certified. Are you required to be a certified latent print examiner at the Chattanooga Police Department?
It's not a requirement, no.
What did you have to do to become a certified latent print examiner?
So I had to train, like I said, for over 2 years under a certified latent print examiner. And I had to have at least 176 hours of specialized training before I was eligible to take the test. And I have a 4-year degree, so I could take it after 2 years. And then you have to pass a written as far as comparison certification test to be certified.
Were you certified by IAI?
Yes, I am.
And was that in 2021?
That is correct.
So when would your recertification be coming up?
2026.
Now you are in what position in the APHIS unit?
Currently, I am the sergeant over the APHIS unit as well as our digital forensics unit and photo lab.
As the sergeant at this point in the APHIS unit, do you now actually train other individuals?
Yes, I have 2 other individuals that are employed under me, and I train them as well.
Similar to the way that Lieutenant Franklin trained you?
That is correct.
Okay. You mentioned 500 plus hours of training. Are most, or if not all of those hours in latent print examination, APHIS related?
Yeah, that's correct. All of those hours are pertaining to APHIS and fingerprint related courses.
Are some of them trainings that happened over a period of days?
Yeah, sometimes you would have a week-long 40-hour class, 3-day classes, sometimes just a few hours, but there was just a wide variety, but there was quite a few classes that were 40-hour classes.
Does IAI have an annual conference?
They do.
Are you required to attend it?
Not required, no.
Do you attend them?
Yes.
Are they, how long are those conferences?
They are a week-long conference.
Did you attend the 101st IAI conference?
Yes.
What about the 102nd?
Yes.
What about the 103rd?
Yes.
104th, 5th, 6th, 7th?
Yes.
Okay. Well, 108th. Looks like the last one in 2024 was 108th.
That's correct.
Okay. But outside of that, hundreds of hours of training and fingerprint examination.
Correct, yes. Our fingerprint vendor, Ayden, who have our Latent workstations through, they do an annual conference as well, and we attend that conference too.
Have you testified in court before as an expert?
Yes, I have.
Approximately how many times?
3 or 4 times, and from juvenile court, sessions court, criminal court.
Your Honor, at this time I would tender Sergeant Salyers as an expert in fingerprint examination and APHIS.
Will the witness be recognized as an expert in APHIS, latent print examination now?
No objection, Your Honor. Thank you, Judge. All right, Sergeant Salyers, as you know, should probably just pass him in the hallway. Lieutenant Franklin's already testified in this case.
That's correct.
Okay, so when you were you working in 2022 under Lieutenant Franklin?
Yes, I was.
And did he ask you to review his findings in the case of State versus Jason Chen?
Yes, he did.
At that time, were you often asked to review his conclusions in a fingerprint examination where a positive identification is made?
That is correct.
Is part of that role the V at the end of ACE-V?
Correct. That is the verification portion of the ACE-V methodology.
And is this always done at the Chattanooga Police Department in terms of identification?
And that's correct. We always verify every identification that we get.
What is the job of the verifier?
Well, as the verifier, you're trying to disprove what the initial examiner come up with. And you're reviewing all the evidence and doing your own independent analysis, comparison, and evaluation to ensure that the best possible answer is achieved and reported out.
Do you review all of the work that that examiner has done?
Yes, all of the latents that the initial examiner have are all turned over to a secondary examiner to do their own examination.
Okay. And did you do that in this case?
Yes, I did.
Did you issue a secondary examination report?
Yes, I did.
Sergeant, is that the report that you issued in this case after verification?
Yeah, that is correct.
Your Honor, I'd ask that this be moved into evidence as State's Exhibit 216. For your report, Sergeant, did you rely on some of the numbers, identification markings that were also in Lieutenant Franklin's report?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. I am displaying for the jury your report. So would the submissions at the top be the same as the submissions on Lieutenant Franklin's report?
Yes, that is correct.
Which is in evidence as Exhibit 215. Conclusions that you have on here, are your conclusions the same as the conclusions of Lieutenant Franklin?
That is correct.
On all of the latent prints that had the quality able to be examined for identification?
That's correct.
And when you reviewed Lieutenant Franklin's work, did you know what ridge events he had identified?
Not on all of them, no.
So you actually do a review on your own without even looking at all of the ridge events that he identified?
Correct, yes.
Do you recall how many ridge events you were able to identify?
I'm sorry. Specifically, or?
Yes, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. We will be talking about 06 and 07 at the bottom.
Okay.
Do you recall how many ridge events you were able to identify in 06 and 07?
Approximately 06, approximately 15 or 16 ridge events on its own, and then around 9 or 10 on 07.
Were you able to say with confidence that those prints, one being the left ring finger and the other the left middle finger, are that of Jason Chen?
That is correct.
Nothing further, Judge.
I love that he actually tries to disprove the finding of the person that goes before him.
Any questions for Sergeant Sullivan?
Instead of trying to confirm it. That's awesome.
Thank you, Sergeant. You may step down.
No questions for him.
Your Honor, we approach.
Yes.
Are we done? It's possible they could be about to rest or have like one more witness. By my count, he was 18. I'd say that because witness number 10 was recalled and I counted her as 10 again. I didn't count her second time testifying as number 14. Uh-oh, bailiffs. Talking about lunch. See, Ivan, thanks for stopping in. Get feeling better.
Chairman Clark, next witness when he's ready.
Your Honor, he's on his way up.
Okay.
I'm a sucker for jerky. I love it. Teriyaki, peppered, plain. I love jerky. I do prefer it a little tender. I don't like to get a jaw workout to chew it. So the thick cut tender is my favorite. Kristen M's in court. We don't have access to her right now because she's watching. We'll wait till there's a break, and she should be calling in. She said she's going to. I do have my phone. Just noticed Bitcoin is practically at 105,000. That's why Ivan's happy.
Audience too, of course.
That was cool. I saw that. When I went to Florida, I saw it for the first time in South Carolina. Crystal, congratulations on 1 year. That's awesome. Thank you so much. She's like, come on down. You're the next contestant. Michelle, I saw you. I was saying you've been here for much longer than 10 months, so that was definitely true. Cookie also has been a member for 7 months. Got his channel and chat. Been here since Brooks. OG.
That's about the truth, so happy God. I do.
When I'm his age, I wish my hair looked that
record.
Yes, Mark Hamilton.
And did I tell you you'd probably be testifying after lunch?
You did, yes, ma'am.
And did you anticipate putting a suit on before you testified?
No, ma'am.
Did you? Did I just call you a second ago and tell you to get up here in 1 minute?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I apologize for that. Welcome. Can you tell the jury what you do for a living, where you currently work?
I work for General Cody Wong. I'm an investigator here, doing mostly technical investigations.
Okay, I want to go back through your work history, okay? And I want to start from the beginning.
Okay.
So in 1986, if you would consider that the beginning, I'm not sure. In 1986 to 2009, what were you doing?
I was in the U.S. Air Force and then later in the U.S. It was Air National Guard, Tennessee.
What did you do in the United States Air Force and Tennessee National Guard?
We did communications engineering, ground radio communications, and then later I was doing engineering installations all over the world.
Okay, will you remember throughout your testimony that if they're anything like me, we don't speak your language?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so let's make sure we break some things down. I've already told you my IQ in this field is low, so let's go slow, okay? Okay, what are ground radio communications that you were doing as a specialist in the United States Air Force?
So it was a mixture, basically anything that doesn't leave the Earth. So we didn't work on aircraft. We worked on the launch sites, air traffic control systems, air traffic towers, mobile, even the fire engines. A lot of it was stuff like post-nuclear attack, stuff that works after the nuclear bombs go off and all the radios are gone. This stuff still works. So it was a SAC, Strategic Air Command.
In a technical way, what are radio communications?
They're basically just the transmission of electrons in waveform, and the frequencies can be way variant. So it's all the way from super low to up in the microwaves like we're supposed to live in above time. But they're just waves of energy.
What training did you have to have in radio communications before you were in this capacity with the Air Force and the National Guard?
Well, the military side, we spent the better part of a year just on the technical subjects. There's no history or English, but it's electrical engineering minus the non-fun stuff.
And what is electronics section of 241 first 241's engineering squadron?
So we had two sides of the house. One was installations, which are the guys that are putting up towers, telephone poles, digging ditches, and putting fiber optics. And then I was over the side, which is electronics, which is all the radio communications careers.
Okay. And then later, did you move to a position with the city of Chattanooga?
I did. It was in parallel with when I went in the Guard when I came off active duty. I was a radio engineer at the city of Chattanooga.
So was that from 1989 to 2002?
Yes, ma'am.
For approximately 13 years?
Correct.
And working with the city of Chattanooga as a radio engineer, what were your job responsibilities?
We took care of all the communications for multiple cities, actually, so fire, police, ambulance, public works. So mountaintop repeater sites, handheld radios we repaired, mobile radios, built this 911 center we currently have. I was involved in the new build of that. So all the dispatch consoles had a lot of microwave networks and a lot of mountaintop repeater sites that we took care of.
What in the world are microwave networks?
This guy speaks my language.
Short, micro meaning small, so they're real high frequency, like our microwave oven that's a microwave. And we take that same signal that's cooking your food, put it in a dish, put information on it, and send it across the valley.
The same signal that's cooking
When
your
you,
food.
when you say microwave, you don't always mean an actual microwave, but it is a microwave.
Yes, it's short, so high frequency.
Okay. And then in 2002, after leaving the city of Chattanooga, did you join the Chattanooga Police Department?
Well, yes, ma'am, I was still a city employee, but I'm lateraled over because technology in the forensics world especially was really starting to go with the cell phones, and the police department kept borrowing me from the communications shop, and so they just finally just moved me over there.
I see. So you're saying in 2002, with new technology being created, the Chattanooga Police Department was using you so much, the city of Chattanooga just said, hey, go over there.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
So my title changed. I still work for the same entity, but my title changed.
Sure, I understand. What was your title at the Chattanooga Police Department?
I had 2 or 3 of them, but at one point it was covert surveillance, and it ended up being forensic technician.
Forensic technician?
Yes, ma'am.
And what, as a forensic technician, were you doing at the Chattanooga Police Department?
Cell phone forensics, video forensics, audio forensics.
If I had to work for a living, I'd do what he does.
Cell records analysis from the providers.
Do those type of forensics involve inspecting and interpreting cell phone data?
Yes, ma'am.
What about cell phone records?
Yes, ma'am.
What about location data from cell phones and other items?
Yes.
Who were you primarily doing those things for at the police department?
As in which division?
At whose request would you do them? Who would give you a cell phone?
Generally, most of that work came out of homicide, but I worked for the whole department, plus I assisted 6 or 7 outlying agencies. But yeah, most of my heavy workload came out of homicide.
And what was your involvement in audio and video?
So a lot of times they would call me out to a crime scene. In the early days, it was VHS tapes that were called time lapse. It was awful. Later, as digital came along, they would come into the crime scene a lot of times to collect. The crime scene would collect the cell phone off of whomever and sign it over to me on the scene. At the same time, I would go in. If it was a business and had cameras, I would go in there and retrieve the video of the incident.
Alice, that is awesome. I'm jealous. I'd love to sit down and hear stories
And
from
then
you
in
and from him.
2019, did you join the Hamilton County District Attorney's Office?
Yes, ma'am.
And was that before I was at the District Attorney's Office?
It was.
And before we get any further into your experience and qualifications, I'm going to address an elephant in a room, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
You work for the District Attorney, is that correct?
I do.
That is me, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
When you testify later today, would you ever testify to facts or evidence just to help the District Attorney's Office?
Absolutely not.
In fact, do you often have to give prosecutors bad news when it comes to criminal cases?
I do. I just give the truth.
Okay. Just wanted to cover that.
Yes, ma'am.
So going back to your qualifications, can you explain some of the training? What's in front of me is 2.5 pages long, so I don't know how you're going to summarize it. But can you please try to summarize your training for the jury?
So, of course, I had my military training, and then when I was at the city, I did a lot of schools that were provided mostly by Motorola, in communications equipment. So I traveled a lot to go to schools. Then when I moved to the police department, I took dozens and dozens and dozens of classes, especially as this technology was growing. Everything from how to interpret cell phone records, certifications in cell phone forensics, so you can understand inner workings of phones. I even took, even though I did it so much, I was probably better than the instructors, but I took a repair course on cell phones, so that I would often, people would break the phone, and I would rebuild it and extract the data.
Did the Chattanooga Police, I'm sorry.
I was just saying I'm certified in all kinds of different careers.
Okay, we will get there. What did the Chattanooga Police Department, did they ask you to go to all of those trainings, or was that voluntary? How did that work?
No, ma'am, I was kind of a one-off, because it was all new, so I just sort of mostly drove that from the bottom up. And we had access to narcotics funds, which is
Which is what, I'm sorry?
It's useful because you can use it for training and equipment, so I spent a lot of dope dealers' money.
Okay. What is NATIA?
National Association of Technical Investigators.
And is this association recognized nationwide?
Yes, ma'am.
Do they host trainings?
They do. It was an annual training in a different city every year.
Approximately how many of those trainings have you attended?
I can't recall. It was a number of them.
Beginning in the 2000s?
Yes, ma'am.
He says I spent a lot of dope dealers' money.
Training on digital forensics?
They did. They would have a list of classes, and you could pick. You had a whole week of it. You just picked the ones that you wanted. You just go to that class for the day or two, or however long it lasted.
Okay. And have you been? What is the USAF? Is that the United States Air Force?
Yes, ma'am.
Have you been certified by the Air Force as a fiber optic network engineering and installation expert?
Yes.
Have you been certified in local area network engineering and installation by the United States Air Force?
Yes, ma'am.
This guy's covered all the bases.
Off the top of your head, know of other certifications you've received?
Yes, there's a bunch of them. Probably the biggest thing is I was eventually qualified. You have qualification levels, like 1, 2, 3. I was qualified as a 9 level in the Air Force, meaning I could supervise or work in any career field that was technology.
Whoa!
So I got to the top of that list. I'm actually still in the reserves at almost 60. They can call me back if they need.
Let's hope that doesn't happen.
Wow.
I have to talk to my wife.
What does Motorola Factory Certified mean?
So we have very specific, very expensive, like the repeaters on the mountains, and even the handheld radios are $6,000-$7,000 back in the day. But you would go to Schaumburg, Illinois. The other classes were down right outside of Miami, and you would sit in their classroom, and you would learn that one specific line and how to repair it, and how it worked, and keep it running.
You're certified in that?
Yes, ma'am. Multiple mobiles, repeaters, handhelds.
Over the years in your training, have you been trained in forensic cellular downloads?
Yes, ma'am.
Have you been trained in cellular data locationing?
Yes, ma'am. Multiple different courses in that.
What the words that I just said, what does that mean? Cellular data locations, probably not the words that go together. I'll have you describe that.
Well, the providers, i.e. like T-Mobile, Sprint, AT&T, they potentially had to, under FCC rule, figure out where you were, especially before GPS was big. And so they have different ways of arriving at your estimated position. And that becomes important on criminal cases. It's not important to them so much, except they use it for engineering, find bad towers or dead spots. They need to add a tower, but we use it for criminal use.
You were asked to locate people before there were cell phones. Is that right?
Yes. And I've had to help even the FBI find a terrorist phone that they couldn't find. And I did.
When was that? In your days in the Air
That was
Force?
when I forgot the date, but it was when our military guys got killed here on Dakota Highway.
You helped in that operation in terms of
Yes,
cell
and
phone?
the FBI came to me and they couldn't find his missing phone, and I put them within 100 feet of it, right next to their office.
Can I get this guy on an interview?
And as times
Please.
have changed from when you didn't have any devices that allowed you to locate individuals, have you received training in cellular device location as it's progressed throughout the years?
Yes, ma'am.
There's something on your resume that says GPS devices in March 2011. Was that a training?
It was.
You've also been a part of the FBI digital imaging and video recovery team.
Yes, ma'am. I was took training from them.
What's Hawk Analytics?
So that is a product that ingests the records the providers give can be very cryptic and huge, and we had to do it by hand. That product was developed just specifically for law enforcement to be able to take like a T-Mobile provider record and ingest it and make it in a readable.
Alice, I would honestly love to interview him. I'm not sure if you would be able to help me in any
It's
way.
certified in it, yes, ma'am. It's actually involved in this case.
You were certified in cell hawk interpretation.
Yes, ma'am.
What is Cellbright?
Cellbright is a product that downloads your cell phone and extracts all the information. And some people probably remember back in the day when you would go to Verizon, you got a new phone, and they were flip phones. They had a black box that they would transfer your phone numbers from the old phone to the new one. That's a Cellbright phone. And somebody along the way went, hey, we're getting that data, we'll just put it on our thumb drive, and now the police or whoever can use it. So it's a product specifically engineered to extract a lot of information from a cellular or any mobile device.
Are you able to interpret records from Cellbright?
Yes, ma'am.
Have you done that in many cases before?
Thousands, probably. Yes, ma'am.
And have you received awards and decorations from the United States Air Force?
Yes, ma'am.
Many?
Yes, ma'am.
Have you ever testified as an expert in a criminal case?
I have.
Do you know how many times?
I've never counted them, but it starts in the early 2000s, so it's hundreds.
Have you testified in each criminal court in the Hamilton County Courthouse?
Yes, ma'am.
Your Honor, at this point, I would tender this witness as an expert in digital forensics and radio frequency engineering.
Please be recognized. Expert in field of digital forensics and radio frequency engineering. Thank you. Thank you. The last one.
Would the court like me to continue?
Story lunch here. Not here yet, please. We'll go to lunch with you.
Okay. All right. DVD, you're on.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, let's start from the beginning, Mr. Hamilton. Can you turn around and look at the screen behind you? I just want to start by, well, before we get to this slide, let's do this. Can you tell the jury what the difference is between a phone, a cell phone, and a SIM card?
Yeah, so the phone is the radios. It's basically just a collection of radios, Bluetooth and 4G and 5G. It's the hardware. The SIM card is that little tiny ceramic card, and that is basically the identity of your account that's a phone number is tied to. But it actually does have a little computer in it. It can store a tiny bit of information, just a few contacts and things, but basically it's a secure chip that the radios in the phone communicate with and then talk to the network, and the network validates you and says, oh, that's so-and-so. And so it basically is your phone number.
Is there a difference between a forensic download of a cellular device and cell phone records from a provider?
Oh, absolutely, yes, ma'am.
What is the difference between a cell phone download, how we would refer to it, and records such as records from T-Mobile or Verizon?
So the cell phone download is kind of like you would expect. It'll have pictures, locations, calls, text, all different apps, and it's kind of just in chronological order. So it's usually very large now because these phones hold a lot of data, so you can get 500 gigabytes off these phones easily. The records the provider gives us are basically just spreadsheets with columns and rows of who called who, what time, what day, what tower was used. So they're a bunch of spreadsheets. Mostly.
Have you been trained in cellular location data as it relates to towers,
yes,
cell towers? Do our phones track us?
They do in two different ways. There's a GPS in there that Google and Apple and everybody are tracking to see where you go and what you do. The cellular company's not tracking that. They're tracking which towers you're using and which antennas you're on for engineering purposes.
Okay, so if you are trying to learn, if I travel from here to home and you were to receive my cell phone records, it wouldn't necessarily show my path home, but would it show the towers that I am near?
It would show the towers and antennas that your device communicated with, yes.
And when you say device communicated with, what does that mean?
It's not all the time, so you may start downtown and maybe hit one in the middle and then one or two up at the end, but you might miss some.
What causes our phone to communicate with towers?
There's a myriad of reasons. Now with these smartphones, it's your stock market update, and then plus your device announces itself all the time so that they can't light up every tower in the country looking for you when you get a phone call. That would just wreck the network. So your phone occasionally just comes out and says, here I am. So they know when you get a call to go to that tower first and try it and see if they can get you, because that's where it will last heard your phone. But yeah, they're talking, if they're on and working, they're talking on the network quite a bit.
Okay, so you're saying that any activity that occurs on our phone is as little as a notification from a news outlet would connect in some way, that might not be the right word, you can tell the jury, connect in some way to a cell phone tower.
Yes, it can and will, but it's not continuous, so it's not like you're tracking somebody minute or every 10 seconds. It might be some gaps in there, a few minutes.
And do our phones record that activity?
The phones necessarily don't, but they do at the provider end. Their computers store all that.
Okay, so I just misdescribed the difference between the phone and the provider records. So the provider would keep those records?
Yes.
Such as T-Mobile?
Yes.
Okay. And approximately how many cellular towers are there located in Hamilton County?
I could not answer that. It's thousands and thousands of them, and each one has multiple technologies. So you may see one tower shared with 3 or 4 providers, and then there's multiple antennas. So you can literally have 50 different radios running off of one tower.
Okay.
It's a lot. It's overwhelming. When I get the database with all the towers in it, the records are in the hundreds of thousands of towers.
All right, so now I think we're at this slide behind you. Can you tell the jury what we're looking at there?
Yeah, let's just give everybody an idea of, generally, the towers are in the...
Make sure, Mr. Hamilton, that you speak as loud as possible for the jury,
Yes,
just for
ma'am.
the jury.
So, actually, I think they can see it. So these towers generally are three-sided, and so when we get the records back, you'll get a basically a 1, 2, or a 3. So it'll be tower number 99, and it'll tell you it used like antenna number 3, which will be these guys here. But they generally break them in by 3 spots. A lot of them, they do 120 degrees, so they cover a 360. But if you have a shopping mall or a high density area, they put the towers where they make money, so they might point all 3 antennas in one direction to put them into, say, a big shopping area. So it's not, or as we have here with these mountains, they don't want them covering the valley from the top, so the ones up at the top will actually all face onto the mountain. Doesn't mean you can't talk to it from behind it, but it's just the main levels. But this just gives you an idea of there's 3 sides to them, and so these different size antennas are probably all the same provider, but that's going to be your 3G or 4G, or nowadays it's 5G. But yeah, they're generally around, have 3 sides.
Okay. In this slide, what is the jury seeing?
So this is kind of, give you an idea of the way the signals come off that tower. They overlap, even though they're 3 distinct sides. That's not a perfect laser, it kind of stands out. So that just gives you an idea they're designed to cover everything around them.
And then what is different, what's depicted in this photo different than the first photo?
So you'll see on some of these maps, the LTE antennas, which are going to be your data on the 4G, they don't put 3 sides on, they just put a stick up, and that guy just radiates in a circle. So it's like all 3 sides together at once. So it just sits there, and the signal's equal all the way around it, so we can't tell what side of the tower they're on when it's on the data. You'll see a circle instead of a triangle. And that's tells us what tower, which antenna, but we don't know if it's north, south, east, west.
Let's start talking about this case in particular, the case of State of Tennessee versus Jason Chen. Were you asked to work on different forensic downloads, digital forensics, audio, video, cell phones? Were you asked to work on this in this case?
Yes, ma'am.
And when you do that, do you also consider other, what we would call discovery, which is evidence in a case?
Yes, ma'am.
How many hours of work would you say you've put into this case when it comes to what you are an expert in?
I would guess 60 to 70.
60 to 70
hours.
Okay. And when you did you examine both T-Mobile records in this case?
Yes, ma'am.
And Verizon records?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And when you do that, in the records themselves, you touched on this, so let's go back to it. In the cellular records themselves, what all are you able to see?
So in the records, there's a lot of information up. It has the name of the owner, generally. It tells you a lot of specifics about the account, the devices. But then you get into call detail records that show who called who texted who, what time and date, potentially what tower it was using in what area of the country at the time. And then we get, there's just multiple spreadsheets. Another one that we get estimates of where you were, and that's, you'll see that here. Some of them we just have a tower. Some of them we have a tower and an arc, which I'll explain later, but you'll have a line, and you should be somewhere on that line, and then some of them you'll see a circle, and the circles are in different diameters by their quality. So when they get a real good signal, they say it's pretty accurate, or not a big circle. But all of that's contained in spreadsheets, just columns and numbers and letters.
Okay, were you aware, when we're talking about the T-Mobile records in this case, are you aware that the records that you have in your possession are only from a shortened period of time?
Yes.
And Investigator Bulkley has already testified that those records are from the week of November 22nd, 2022?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. What changes in cell phone records if items are deleted?
So if items are deleted on your phone, I guess you're asking because you can't delete the stuff that the provider has.
That's what I'm asking.
Yeah, so nothing happens. No matter what you do to your phone, it's already there. It's permanent. It goes nowhere. It's in there.
Are there records that you can remove from your phone, or I guess that would change based on what you're doing on what a person is doing on their actual cell phone?
So you're asking on the physical device, can they change it?
Yes.
Oh, absolutely.
What is that? How does that work?
You can delete stuff, or you can just reset the phone to factory new, and it's completely irrecoverable at that point. It's gone. So that's yours. You can manipulate it a lot.
What if you reset your phone? What does that do to the records themselves?
The only thing that would change is both. I know Apple iPhones were involved in this, and they do what's called iCloud backup. So your backup is kind of an image of most of what's in your phone stored at their server. So if you go wiping it, your next image is going to have whatever you have today, but they keep multiple copies. So when if you restore it, you can go and pick a date. I don't know how many they keep, but that would change. But as far as what the provider of records, like what towers you use, and they also sometimes, and we got them in this case, they send some of the text message content, and that won't change no matter if you delete it on your phone or not.
If a phone is reset, do the records reflect that?
No, not exactly. At least we didn't get them because you'd have to get them from Apple. And but what we see on the provider side is some information showing that there's some changes. But where we actually see an iCloud backup is in the actual device download, where the physical phone was put on the cell right and downloaded.
Okay.
And that does show when and what happens.
Okay. And on this slide, is this accurately describe the records, the cellular provider records that you reviewed in this case?
Yes, ma'am.
And are the phone numbers correct that are attached to both the T-Mobile records with Jason Chen and Verizon records with Jasmine Pace?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Let's give the jury, are we still good, Your Honor?
Sure.
Okay, perfect. So now I know that this is difficult to see for the jury, and I wish I could zoom in, but I can't on my PowerPoint. So I'm going to have you, and this is just for demonstrative purposes.
It is, yes.
This doesn't contain any information that we're specifically trying to point to today. But can you just describe for the jury sort of what you're seeing here?
So this is just one of the typical spreadsheets we get. And it's showing the start and end time. It shows some numbers here that will become important here later. And I make them all a phone. It tells us which switch, the market it's in, which is kind of like big counties. They have, like here in Chattanooga, we actually use on Verizon, we use the switches in Atlanta. So we're in the Atlanta market. But this stuff starts telling me which tower and then which antenna you use. So you'll get what's important mostly is what time of day and what antenna and which market it's in, and I have a list of all the towers so that I can match.
So would it be accurate to say that on the left column we can see dates and times, correct?
Yes.
And then you would also be able to see in the records such as this what tower, would the left side be activity on the phone?
Yes. This is date and time, and this over here is which towers you're using.
Okay.
And antenna.
So for all this activity, which is just simply activity throughout parts of 11/22/22, the cell phone towers are all the same. Can we not see that on this?
Yeah, you can. Yes.
Okay.
This is all the same, so that's pretty indicative of a phone that's not moving or not moving much in that little print of that one in 10.
Okay, and you'd agree under subscriber that we've got Jasmine Pace's phone number?
Yes.
Is this the way, is this how you are able to track a phone location based on the cell phone towers that the activity is connecting to?
Yes, this is one of the ways, and the other one is a document which I don't have. It's just like this, but it'll have an estimated latitude and longitude. And I guess now's a good time to explain that. But GPS, like we're used to when you use something to navigate on your phone, is generally accurate now down to about 15 to 30 feet. These towers are rough, so they're not GPS. So when you see a circle, it may be 500 feet, and they're estimating you're in that circle somewhere, but it's not GPS. So you'll see latitude and longitude, but it's not GPS. So it's not very accurate. It's roughly accurate. Sometimes it can be off quite a bit. So it's not a thing where I can say you were in this house. I can say you're probably in the neighborhood or on that block.
Understood. So this is an example of the records that you would use to determine the location of a cellular device. Is that correct?
Yes,
okay. And then we have another example here, except these are Mr. Chen's T-Mobile. This is an example of Mr. Chen's T-Mobile records. And again, I apologize, but is there similar, but we've got a little bit more on this. So is there similar information?
It is, and this is when I was talking about where T-Mobile's estimating where this device was. It's not me. So it tells you date, time, who, and basically what happened, calls or a text or whatever. But what's important right here, those are the tower latitudes and longitudes. But on over, you'll see they'll actually estimate your location at a latitude and longitude with a circle of a given radius, and they tell us that. So now we can map and draw a circle on the map of the right diameter, and they're saying it's probably inside that circle. They do that actually because they got told they had to, because there wasn't GPS on all phones, and people would call 911 and say help, and they didn't know where they were. So they came up with this system.
Okay.
It actually measures the speed of light and multiple towers and guesstimates where you are.
Okay. Again, we don't speak the same language, but we're doing well here. Okay. Were you able to review the T-Mobile records of Mr. Chen and the Verizon records of Ms. Pace to determine their approximate locations the week of November 22nd?
Yes, ma'am.
In doing that, did you identify quite a few cellular towers that at different times their devices were connected to?
Yes, ma'am. There's a lot of them.
And on top of determining the location of their cell phones, did you also review other records from both Mr. Chen's and Ms. Pace's records that were provided to you by T-Mobile and Verizon?
Yes.
Like data used, messages, calls, etc.?
Yes. There's a whole string of spreadsheets you get with the returns.
Is it helpful to review other records on the phone to corroborate a location?
It is somewhat, not so much the location, but the dates and times, because these phones, especially where we live, we're right on the timeline, and the phones will jump in and out of Central Time. The records, a lot of them are stored in what's called Greenwich Mean Time, or UTC, which is in England. And part of the year we're 5 hours behind them, and part of the year because of daylight savings we're 4 hours. So it's nice to take the record, find the same call or text in the phone and match them, and know that your calculations are right. We're on subtracting 5 hours. Some of these call sheets are in the accurate local time, so you have to have a good understanding of how AT&T or T-Mobile or whoever, what they provide you. You got to know how to read it.
In forming your opinions in this case, did you use other evidence to corroborate those opinions, or to even make those opinions?
Yes, ma'am. So I used somewhat, looked at the phone down a little bit. I mostly used some videos that were available to corroborate the location.
What about text history?
Yes.
is the location data as you are going to describe it and explain it to the jury, is it inconsistent with anything that you located in the records?
No.
Or in the phone downloads?
No.
And this was just recently, I can't recall the exhibit. This was an exhibit from yesterday. I did not put the... I'm showing you a photo that's already been admitted into evidence. Oh, here we go. Exhibit 208. This is a photo of Miss Pace's vehicle.
Yes.
You'd agree that this next photo is a photo of Miss Pace's vehicle?
Yes, ma'am.
And then Exhibit 171-2, would you agree this is a photo of Mr. Chen's vehicle?
I do.
Was it helpful to know what the vehicles looked like in forming your opinions?
Yes, because I was watching videos with nobody. I traditionally do this without any help or asking for case info, and so I needed to know what the vehicles look like. So when I watched the videos, I could find it.
Okay. Now let's begin chronologically going through location data that you were able to collect. And let's start with Miss Pace's phone on 11/22/2022. This is exhibit number 1. Have you seen this exhibit before?
Yes, ma'am.
What does this show to your knowledge?
That is a screenshot from an app that was on her phone, and it records dates and times, start and stop.
When reviewing the records to determine the location of Miss Pace's phone on the 22nd, were you able to find evidence that corroborates this trip?
Yes, I was.
All right, so this is the first time of many that the jury is going to see a map that looks similar to this, okay? So this is when we have to sort of break it down for the jury so that they can understand it.
Yes, ma'am.
Is this a map that reflects Miss Pace's travel from 11:27 to 11:43 p.m. on the 22nd?
It does.
And that would also be the time frame on this My Chevy app, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So what are the green circles or semicircles?
So this is that product called Cellhawk, and it'll ingest the records and do all this heavy lifting for you. So the circles, remember I was saying the LTEs are omni, meaning they cover all the way around so we don't know which side of the tower. That's what these big circles here. And then when you see this line, it's hard to see, but that pie shape is going to be a sector antenna like we saw that covers generally 120 degrees. The coverage is not the green part, that's just showing you what direction it's facing, and the coverage of the circle ones is not the circle, it can be huge. It can have holes from ridges, but generally, like when you see this triangle, they're using the antenna on that side of the tower facing north, and its coverage is going to be out this way. So if you were traveling down this road right here, you would be hitting, these antennas like that. And it's very consistent that the path that's from the GPS in that phone on that record from my Chevy matches the radio signal I'm seeing and the timing. So this is rolling into, have you guys seen the map yet?
Sort of, but if you want to go ahead and describe for the jury, well, first of all, let's start here. Are you from the Hamilton County area?
I am.
How long have you been here?
Since the mid-70s when the Apollo program quit.
Okay. Are you extremely familiar with the geography here?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so we can see, would you agree that the furthest green, like you said, pie shape and semicircle, whatever, and circle, that is close to, or very, very close That, yeah, what is that top? What is
So
that?
that's 5977, which is the Pace residence.
So is the map that we're seeing all the way from the Pace residence down to Mr. Chen's apartment?
It is.
And go ahead and describe that where we're at.
So this is Hickson. We call this around here North Chattanooga and Hickson. So this area down here where he's at in North Chattanooga, it's covered up. But right here, 110 Tremont Street's right in there. And you'll see eventually Walmart, 900 Mountain Creek Road. I've marked the pertinent locations. The body location is up here on the river. Down in the yeah, so basically this is the area that we're mostly going to be looking at, this lower half.
Okay, did you identify on there the significant locations for this case, like Walmart and the body location in Mountain Creek Road? Did you insert that?
I did, and there's a Walgreens here. It's kind of messy on this one because we're so zoomed out, but yes, the body, 900 Mountain Creek, Walmart, the drugstore down here right next to Tremont Street where the apartment is.
Okay, and the jury can see all of the times associated, which there's a lot of them. In fact, when we get to the bottom, they overlap each other. Does cell hawk create those times?
It publishes them. The times are created by the provider. So in this case, the red ones are going to be Mr. Chen's, and the green ones are Mrs. Pace. And the times they come from those spreadsheets. So the only thing I physically did in this case is put those addresses and put a pin on the address, and everything else is automated by cell hawk.
Okay, and you just mentioned this, but we need to be clear because this is going to continue throughout our time together here. The green is going to represent whose cellular device?
Jasmine Pace.
And the red now and in the future is going to represent whose cellular device?
Jason Chen.
Okay. And did you do that so that we keep them separate?
Yes, it actually chooses the colors for you, but you can alter them. But yes, each phone number is a different color.
General, I've been advised that lunch is here, so we can set up, we can stop. I don't want to cut you off whenever you're ready.
No, Your Honor, when we come back, I'll probably refer back to the slide to explain the next couple, but it's totally fine.
Okay, you ready to take a break at this point?
Sure, Your Honor.
All right, I've been doing a little research.
The lunch is arriving, we're getting set up. 5 minutes after 1, we'll take our usual hour 15 minutes, so we'll resume this jury trial at 2:20.
Been doing a bit of research, and this witness who I really like, I hope I get a chance to interview.
Judge, will you let Mr. Hamilton know not to discuss his testimony?
Hey, Bill, name and reference your witness right now. You have to discuss your testimony.
There's an active shooter in Raleigh. Oh my goodness. I don't read mod chat. Multi-victim shooting. North Hills Mall. Active shooter. At least 3 victims. Suspect possibly down. That's terrible.
Thank you.
All right. Let me, as we go to lunch, I didn't hear how long we're going to take lunch, so we'll just have to play it by ear. It's probably going to be at least 45 minutes, so let's plan on that. All right. I've been doing some research. If you look over here on the screen, right over here, over my shoulder, which you can't see very well because, you know, it's off the screen. You'll see a face. You'll see a face over here. This is Mark Hamill. I'm going to bring him over to the other screen. Just 1 second. Mark Hamilton. We called him Mark Hamill, but Mark Hamilton. This is from a trial in Tennessee called. Let me look, just look here. This is the Tennessee versus Janet Hines hit and run murder trial of a police officer. And there's our guy. And there's our guy. He's also been he's got a little, almost a smile to his face every time he testifies. I found another one from him previously. Let's see. There's the Just Deal Law. He's testified a number of times, and every other time he has worn a suit. if I get to interview him, you know I'm going to ask him about the repping Carhartt and this trial. But, okay, let's see. I have not yet heard from Kristen. We'll give Kristen a minute to call in. Hopefully she's able to. He did testify during the period of COVID. He had a mask on when he took that. He smiles with his eyes. He does own a suit. You know, his boss his boss literally is questioning him on the stand right now. And she calls him up and says, hey, be here right now. But he comes back after lunch in a suit and tie. Oh my goodness, Mama Ames. That would be funny. That would be so good. Oh. And then we can have all the, you clean up nice comments. I think he was planning on wearing a suit and tie. He wasn't supposed to go until after lunch. He was going to change at lunch. That was his plan. Mr. Upper Torso, we don't know yet, but we're waiting for word from Kristen, who might be calling right now. Hang on just 1 second. I'm plugging in the phone. 1 second. Hang on. Hang on. Hello, is this Kristen? Hello? Oh, call failed. Try again, Kristen. We'll give her just another second. We're waiting for Kristen to call. Let's give her a minute. The DA is his boss. Yes, that's right. Man, everything is sort of acting weird today. Okay, I think it's no secret that I really admire this guy's job and what he's done, his work. It's been, hey, it's Kristen. She says she's going to try to call back. She left a message here. We'll give her just a second. There we go. Hello.
Call from Kristen.
Kristen, are you there? Hey.
I'm here.
Sorry, my phone acted funny and cut you off the first time. I apologize.
It's okay.
How was court? You're a court watcher today.
It's freezing inside.
It's freezing inside?
Yes, it's so cold in there. Do you guys love Mr. Hamilton as much as the courtroom loves Mr. Hamilton?
Oh my goodness, yes.
Can we please take him and put him in the Karen Reed trial?
Here's we're gonna try to do one not quite that good, but we've got let me, if I get the right, it's Alice, one of our great members in chat, Alice Turner in chat, worked with him, knows him, and I said, could we see if he'd be willing to do an interview? I'd love to sit down with him and hear some of his stories, not necessarily talk about the details of this case, but hear some of his stories because first of all, his interests, his work aligns with my hobbies. He knows about 1 billion times more than I do. But he's got that smile. He's seen things and done things. I'd love to hear some stories and just sit down and hang out with him for a while.
The courtroom loves him.
He shows up in a Carhartt shirt because he had no warning.
Yes, she was literally like, get up here now.
We've got this running bet. We think he's going to come back from lunch in a suit. I've done some research. I found 2 other trials, one on court TV, one in the newspaper, where he's been photographed testifying in court as far back as 2015. In 2015, he was testifying about brand new technology that could pinpoint cell phone locations. And everyone's like, you can't use that. It's not trusted. It's not. Yeah. Now we use it all the time. So basically, he pioneered this area that he's testified in. And every time he's been in court that I've seen, he's been wearing a suit. So this is new and different for him. But
so there's 15 jurors.
15. Okay.
Yes. There's 8 males and 7 females. It's a very diverse makeup of, it's like racially diverse, and the men are mostly younger.
Okay.
They have big, comfy leather chairs for the jury, and everyone else is sitting on heavenly wood.
Which is not comfortable.
So it is not.
What is squeaking? It sounds like a dog. Is there a service dog there, or is that's like whining, or is there a chair? What?
The camera is sitting right next to the door.
Oh.
So every time the door opens, it squeaks.
It's the hinges.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. We needed to know that.
I should go get some WD-40.
Just little spray. So tell me about the jury. We've loved their questions. They've been attentive. They've been very detailed.
They are very attentive.
Is everybody taking notes? Is there anyone who looks like, I really wish I'm not here?
Yes, a lot of nodding, a lot of note-taking. Probably, who I'm going to say is probably the foreperson is a man with stellar hair. His hair is great. I think he asked the question. Right. I'm pretty sure he asked the question about the latent prints.
Okay. That is, they've asked so many questions. I mean, more questions by this jury than in many trials put together. But we haven't seen yet. Well, we know that the state is going to rest today. That's what they plan on doing, and we're going to see the other side. I'd be curious to see if those nods become shakes of the head, and at what point that happens.
Right.
But man, tell me about the courtroom itself as far as observers. Is it fairly full? Are there people on both sides?
There's not very many people on the defense side. There is, I think, 5 family members, his parents, and I think 2 maybe siblings.
Okay.
There's a few lawyers sitting on defense side, but there are a lot of Justin Pace family.
As far as that goes, is the family, are they? It looks like they're here for the long haul. They're sitting through all of this just to be there to support, or
oh yes, and there's probably 30 of them.
Oh wow!
Yeah, it's a big section. As far as like non-press, there's not very many people here.
That surprises me for how much coverage this got when it happens. Everybody seems to know about it. They had to sequester the jury and, change of venue type almost. But
yeah, there was so much press coverage here that they had to go to Nashville to get the jury.
Yeah, that is wild. Well, we are super excited to hear the rest of the testimony from Mark Hamilton. I wish he could just sit down and tell us stories while the jury's deliberating. Just get him up on the stand.
I know, right?
He's amazing. And Alice has given us a little, little bits and tidbits of, her experience working with him and everything. It's been amazing. I really hope that I'm able to interview him. I thought for sure he would be a ham radio operator, but it looks like he does not have a license.
I was so nervous. I was like, is this going to be boring? No, definitely not.
He's delivering the information that normally we sort of snooze through. He's like, okay, this angle.
Yeah.
And it's gonna be a lot of it, but it's the details. This is the details that solves cases. Okay?
Correct.
It might be tough to see it on the map, and as you can see here, the pins moved here, and now this antenna is active, and now this one. That's how they found her body. That's how they put him at the crime scene. So it's great. It's great that way. Quick question. How long did the judge say lunch was?
An hour and 15 minutes, I believe.
All right.
And they are working on Monday.
Yes, so we'll be and Saturday tomorrow and Monday. It's going to be a short weekend for all of us. But does the jury look like they're really frustrated with being sequestered, or?
No, everybody looks very comfortable.
They must be fed well.
Well taken care of. They all had their sweaters on.
It's chilly in there. That's crazy. Turn on the heater. Tennessee, you can afford the heater. But anything else you want to share?
Fun fact. Yeah. No, fun fact. My wife and I actually lived on Mountain Creek Road when, at the very time that her car was located at those condominiums.
Wow. The idea that you could have been like driving in or driving out and passing each other, that's crazy.
Yeah, it's so crazy. I work downtown on North Shore, so I pass Tremont all the time.
So you watch the police camera stuff, and it's like, hey, that's my car going by. Right. I'm in that footage. That is crazy how close to home it is. I know we just had a triple murder, literally almost in my neighborhood here over the weekend, and it's. You always think it will happen somewhere else, and it's far away in another state, or maybe another, in the capital area or something. When it comes right close to home, it just feels different. But,
yeah, definitely.
Wow.
But I will keep you guys posted. I'm going to leave a little early today. I'm not staying till 6 or 7, but I will let you know what I see.
Awesome, Kristen. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Have a great one.
No problem. Have a good one.
We'll see you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
That is so awesome. Thank you very much, Kristen, for the connection and the updates, the information. So we get an hour and 15-minute lunch. We are going to take a lunch break. I know I shouldn't take lunch because I ate almost all of my steak strips that Mrs. R.A. bought me. Now let me just fess up. She went to Sam's Club, and these are Members Mark Sam's Club. This is probably equivalent to a full dinner size large steak. But when I got it, it has no added MSG, no added nitrates, naturally smoked. When I got it, it was already open, and Mrs. R.A. insisted on having a sample. I'm pretty sure she's been sampling it since she bought it, so it was not full when I got it. But I am going to have lunch anyway. Oh, let's see. Oh, man. Glad they're in a good mood. Probably helps being brought in from out of town. You'd be in a hotel anyway. Yeah, being sequestered makes for some dull afternoons, right? Not a lot to talk about, or a lot to talk about and nobody you can talk about it with. So we're going to take a break. Let me build a portal over to the afternoon live stream for y'all. All right, an hour and 15 puts us at an hour at 2:15. Wow, that's 2:15. That's late. We'll be back at 2:15. It's a long break. It's a little late in the day, but that works out for us just fine. Plus, we're going to be working over the weekend, so get used to the long hours. Crystal H was first in chat on the other channel, or not on the same channel, on the other feed. But I'm excited. I'm excited to hear the rest of the testimony. I know it's not going to be the most gripping stuff, but the idea, the hope that's out there that I might get a chance to interview Mark. Oh my goodness, that would be so much fun. I hope he's up for it. I hope he's allowed to. That would be so cool. All right, tonight when you go home, please hug the people you love, smile at someone, make their day just a little bit better, and please stay safe until we go live again in a little less than an hour from now at 2:15. I will portal us all over to the other place. So if you want to continue the conversation, you can do that over there in the new under the new thumbnail. I might make a new thumbnail for this. Red Pen, I'm probably not going to use yours. I love it. And we'll show this when we come back. Remind you, we'll show your thumbnail when we come back. But I might be making a new thumbnail. Thomas gave me an idea. So we'll see what happens. You guys have a good lunch. We'll see you afterwards. Bye-bye.